Hey everyone, you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture, and I am your host,
Yes.
Andrew Davis. And before we really get into this interview, I do want to remind everyone that you need to support and financially support what you like, whether it's
Mhm.
this show, my guests, wrestling in general, or corporate media. I personally do not care, but you need to support it. You need to financially support it because without money, this stuff doesn't get made, or
Yep.
your favorite wrestler doesn't get to a show, or they don't get on that card. So keep that in mind. But enough about that. I don't want to bore everybody and whine and complain. There's plenty
Mhm.
enough people who do that in society. Because I have with me professional wrestler Tyree Taylor, who's a big
Yes.
hoss. You're a big hoss. So I just want to state that. I may or may not state it again at some point during this interview.
That's
But
not a problem.
so welcome to the
Yeah.
show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. But one of my favorite things to do is to introduce myself. I'm the heavy hitter, wig splitter, never quitter, big boy from Brooklyn, Tyree Taylor. So we got to put a little sauce on that steak. You know what I mean? Got to put a little seasoning on it to shake it up a little bit.
Hey, I mean, I love it, and I love every match that you've been in the last year. I
Ah,
think it's been fantastic. I think
thank you.
Wrestling Open
Yes.
has been arguably one of the best things for wrestling probably
Yes.
in the
I
last
agree.
5 years. In the last
I
five
agree.
years, I don't want to say collectively because Hogan versus Andre is hard to beat. Um, but before we get into all that, I
Mhm.
know you've been wrestling for about 7 years, and I think how you got into
Actually, actually, 12 March.
oh
This March will be 12.
oh
I would
snap.
love to. I would love to say 7, but then I'll be lying to people. 12. But this March will be 12 years.
Yeah, but even going further into that, I mean, how did you get started? Because obviously you've been around. You're not a kid. You're, I think,
Mhm.
more in a veteran status, and it's
Second.
one of those things where it's just weird because I think COVID has been beneficial because it gave a spotlight to a lot of people who I felt were getting buried. And I
Yes.
know you from, I guess, the COVID era of wrestling, but
Hmm.
I am curious how you got started into wrestling before we dive into the last 3 years. I feel.
So I was a young lad, younger lad. I was actually playing baseball in high school. I was scouted um, down in Brooklyn, New York. I was first baseman hitting them 400 feet. Had a scout on me and stuff like that. And then the conversation of college and stuff like that came up. Um, and to be honest, I was more of a tradesman than anything. So like the prospect of college didn't really appeal to me. But having a scout there to possibly be some sort of big baseball player was open. Then all of a sudden he wasn't there, and I thought he might have died. Like to be quite honest, um, but after high school, after realizing that like that dream wasn't feasible, day after my 19th birthday, I went to Johnny Rod's in Brooklyn, New York, and that day paid my money and took my first bump, and the rest was history. And almost 12 years later, and I'm here.
Yeah, let's even talk a little bit about that because
Yeah.
people who know wrestling know Johnny Rodz,
Hmm.
very much a New York, legendary
Yes.
trainer in that way. If
Hmm.
you're out in California, chance of you being in Johnny Rodz at schools slim to none.
Yeah.
Put it
Yeah.
nicely, but if you're in New York, you're in the Bronx, you're Yonkers, maybe even Westchester,
Hmm.
you know. And so, what was that like? Because that was 12 years ago, and
Uh,
obviously things have changed in wrestling, but things have
yeah.
also stayed the same.
Yeah. Johnny was one of the um, he was my introduction to professional wrestling, which is a tough deal, so to speak. It's a tough one, because he could be the sweetest man on the planet, then he can really get on you, for certain things, and I just so happen to be the punching bag for a lot of things. So like I love Johnny to death, but he prioritized basics when he every time he got in the ring, every time he had his list up, every time he had an idea of what he wanted us to do, it was always basics driven. And I believe everything after that being being basics driven, catapulted me to do all sorts of other things. So having the fundamentals of professional wrestling was very important to what I'm doing right now. So I do love Johnny Rods for that so much.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point because I'm in a different, situation where
Hmm.
I'm teaching a comic book investing class,
Okay.
and I don't get into anything complicated with my first class that I'm teaching, where I'm teaching the basics,
Yeah.
because it's great to teach level 2 and level 3, I feel.
Hmm.
But if you don't understand level 1, or you don't understand the basics, there becomes safety issues. If you don't know how to bounce off the ropes correctly, you could get hurt. And I think that's
Absolutely.
something that, maybe people who watch wrestling don't understand, maybe even some wrestlers don't understand,
Hmm.
that you're in the ring with somebody else and you have their life in your hands.
Yes,
And
absolutely. Absolutely.
it sounds weird when you say it that way, but it is life and death, and people do die in the rings,
Yeah.
and it's no joke. I mean, and so this is one of the things that the WWE let ban Edge, because they
Hmm.
were scared that he was going to die in the ring.
Yeah.
The whole thing with Paige is the same thing, and then there
Yeah.
was an incident with Rey Mysterio down in Mexico where somebody died in the ring.
Yep.
And so, what is this like? Because I think you just highlighted a really important point that can't be
Um.
enough, I feel.
Um, when it comes to the sport that we do, it's very physically daunting. I say this a lot. I will never be 100% again. If you look at any ring, you think it's a trampoline or something like that. This is steel, and steel welded on, and probably about an inch of padding, and wood. That's it. Ta-da! That's the mat that we go on, and falling on purpose every day and going through what we do, something significant, and it only takes one time for something serious to happen. So to prevent that, you have to stock up on the basics, what to do, what not to do. Make sure your opponent's safe, even though you're in a competition with that guy. To make sure that he goes home safe, that you go home safe, and that we can all make money out of this game that we play here. So having someone else's life in their hands is super important, because at the end of the day, regardless of where we go in this business, we want the business to thrive. And I want you, as my opponent, to be good so I can be good, so you can be good, so I can be good. But it doesn't work if I get hurt, or you get hurt, or anything like that, or something more significant happens. It's just a stain on the business. And we're humans too. We care. We give a damn about the people around us. So we want to make sure this business thrives in all aspects. So that's mighty. That's important as hell. Having your life in somebody's hands like that. Yeah.
It's very important. And also, I feel that now in particular, and it's just me as a fan, is that
Mhm.
20 years ago, if there was an incident at a wrestling show,
Yeah.
maybe it was taped, maybe it
Yeah.
wasn't.
Mhm.
And I hate to say it this way, it's going to sound messed up, but it could be brushed more easily under the ring,
Oh,
for lack of a
absolutely.
better word. Now,
Absolutely.
when something is streamed on IWTV, or it's
Mhm.
streamed on Peacock, or it's on, I can't think of another streaming service, or AEW, wherever it is,
Mhm. Yeah.
if something happens, you can't just brush that under the ring, for lack of a better word. And I think that's the other thing too, is that it's also more publicized. There's also
Yeah.
more things out there. There's YouTube,
Yeah.
and things get out. And so it's like, it's even more, there's more
Yeah.
eyes on this, and it's also all being done almost in real time. So
It's unfortunate too, because especially in the wrestling circle, we have something called Twitter, and we may not have heard about a match, but we heard somebody broke their leg or something like that. That clip is on there, just 5 seconds of a match. That's all you know that match for, is somebody really significantly hurting themselves on that match, or taking a bad fall, or somebody hitting somebody crazy, or something like that. And with the attention spans that we have nowadays, that 5 second clip can determine 18 different things about that person who worked with, that person who got hurt, that match, that promotion, and everything like that. So like like that, you can't brush that off at all. You know what I mean? Like just like how people jump in the ring. People fans would jump in the ring and stuff like that, and they get the hella kicked out of them. You know what I mean? Like that's the car crash. You know, you want to see people are morbid like that, where it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you go on YouTube, you're in a rabbit hole, and now you see people dig out pools. They see people dig out pools with their bare hands and stuff like that. Like that's the kind of thing that grabs our attention really quickly, and that's where the people who are close to that person would actually go to that person, see if you're okay, yada yada yada. But people who don't know that person, they'll watch it 4 or 5 times to just because that's just where the attention goes to a clip like that. So a lot of things can happen on a clip. You can't brush any of that at all. So practice make perfect and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very complicated and it's very
Yeah.
hard when things happen. The person
Hmm.
who I think did an amazing job, and he's a friend, is Killian McMurphy with his
Yes.
match with a very good professional wrestler at the Super 8, where
Hmm.
Killian played that thing off really, really well.
Yes.
Where I
Yes.
mean, it's Killian's character, and
Yeah.
I was cheering the entire way, but obviously, a very good professional wrestler got hurt that day, and it was a very
Yeah.
serious issue. And
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else was in the finals if they could have
Hmm.
pulled it off the way Killian McMurphy pulled that off.
Yes. Yes.
And credit needs to be given where credit is due. But I digress. I do want
Hmm.
to jump a little bit though, because I do want to talk about reality of wrestling, which is
Yes.
Booker T. And I love
Hmm.
Booker T. I thoroughly enjoyed Booker T's book. I thought it was
Yes.
very insightful. I did not
Hmm.
know his upbringing and what a hard life he had upbringing. Did not
Yeah.
know that he spent time in prison, which
Yeah.
is crazy given that. I mean, that's an American success story
Yeah.
by
Absolutely.
definition. And the fact that he's still with WWE, it's great. The fact that
Yes.
it's on like the pre-show, it's fantastic. The Shacky
Hmm.
Shacky or Quacky Quacky,
Chucky. Chucky.
whatever it is,
Quack.
I love it. I
Yes.
love it. It's great.
Hmm.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yes. Yes. Book is um his teachings are pretty different than Johnny Rod's. Johnny Rod's is more basics driven. He's more polishing and getting ready because where he based his school now in Texas City, I was there for the construction of that, and seeing if you go like if you dig far enough back in his gallery on Instagram and stuff like that, you'll see him in a demolished building, just sitting there, and just like having a vision about what this place will look like. And you see that maybe about 5 years later, that the place is rocking one of the best places in the world to train. And to see that from the ground up and to see his vision from something like that is kind of what he brings to students when it comes to their work, when it comes to their training, when it comes to um, finishing them so they can, go off to prosper and do great things. It doesn't come without some wild Booker stories, especially on account of myself. I end up putting myself in positions to where I got getting yelled at by Book is one thing. Get yelled at by Book and Sharmell at the on the same day is nuts. So like Book is one of those guys that you love him to death, but like things have to be right. It's not one of those places where the inmates run the asylum. That's the chief right there. That's boss man. The vibe. Like every time he come in, he commands the room with his personality and everything like that. Also stuff that he brings into his students. So he carries himself highly. His students carry himself highly, and they're all talented, and you see those guys everywhere. So reality wrestling is one of the it is probably my best decision when it comes to professional wrestling. So like that's home away from home for me.
So
Yeah.
let's even talk a little bit about that
Yeah.
because obviously you came into reality of wrestling having training already done,
Yeah.
having been out in, I guess, quote unquote, the wild in the indie scene, and then
Hmm.
you came in there. And for you, I guess it was sort of getting back a little bit to the basics, but it's also getting that coat of polish on. And there's an idea that, sometimes in life you need to get fine tuning done and maybe you need to add some cosmetics to it. And that's what, not saying what it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it
Yeah.
seems like it was a little bit of both for you, where it was to bring you to the next level.
Uh, it was half that and half it was a culture shock because unfortunately the scene in New York is not flourishing. It's not the greatest. The tri-state area is not. It's not the greatest. I will say. Um, I went to Texas about 4 years of training from Johnny Rods and everything like that. I had a tryout match with one of his students, and he absolutely adored my basics. And that's what got me in without any sort of real obstacle. But you realize that you were a big fish in small pond, and then you come in big fish, ocean full of sharks. The talent in Texas is wild. Yeah, like it's I want to say it's top heavy, but it's deep. The talent level is deep in Texas. You can go anywhere in Texas, especially Houston around Booker, and you realize that whoa, maybe in over my head. Um, but he pushed me to understand that I belong in that group. And I wish I stayed there a little longer, but it was a culture shock before I got into any of those details when it comes to Booker. So like it was definitely a shock, especially in the beginning. But I acclimated and you know not below them.
Yeah, and even to go further into that,
Yeah.
because one of the things that I think that also people don't realize is that wrestling is a business. And
Yes.
it's a business for yourself.
Absolutely.
It's a business for the promotion. It's a
Hmm.
business beyond wrestling. I mean,
Yes.
not to go WWE, I'm going to throw Mandy Rose out there.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Mandy Rose's money is not going to be made in WWE. It's
Yeah.
going to be made when she launches a fitness program, when she
Yep.
launches a yoga program.
Hmm.
Not saying she's not making good money and she's not having a great time,
Yeah.
but and she's not doing well in WWE. And it's not a knock against her, but her real
Hmm.
money comes after WWE. And that
Yeah.
because she's a brand. And that's also
Hmm.
what I think wrestlers don't understand too, is that after your boots are hung up,
Yeah.
you're a brand. And
Yes.
that's something that, I'm developing. Obviously,
Hmm.
the show is that, and it's a lot of things. And it's taken me almost 10 years to get to this point where I'm now starting to understand it.
Yeah.
But anytime I launch something out of pop anime comics or conversations in
Yeah.
pop culture, I
Hmm.
want a certain standard and a certain brand. And
Yeah.
so, what is that like for you? And even learning that, because I feel like Booker T also instills that a little bit and kind of goes into that too, because it's not just your basics or learning some more moves or even how to pace a match.
Yeah.
It's how do you make money in this business? And I think that
Yeah.
schools teach you how to do parts of that. Not all of it, but they give you at least some, I guess, insight, because that's something that I
Yeah.
think some people get, some people don't.
Yeah. Booker wasn't he was that guy for it, but he wasn't my go-to for that. He wasn't my go-to. Charmel was. Charmel Charmel is probably one of the smartest people in professional wrestling. I will put that take on the airwaves. Charmel is one of the smartest people in wrestling, and not only does she understand the in and outs of like wrestling, she knows the wrestling business. And when it came to marketing, promotion, everything like that, Charmel had a lot to do with it. And like from her perspective, you're not only a brand when it comes to professional wrestling. It's when you walk out the streets. You know what I mean? I leave this. I'm at home. I go outside. I'm a brand. You know what I'm saying? And if I go out and God forbid I end up on the news somehow, that's my brand. You know what I'm saying? Anybody associated with me, is now in some sort of intertwined in it. So you know what's going on with me, the person, the brand, regardless of what you do in any sort of business. You are that brand. So regardless of if I'm in a ring or not, my brand is still active regardless of what I'm doing. Just like now, it's my brand. Me, Tyree Taylor, big boy from Brooklyn, Tyree Taylor, is my brand speaking. So I have to be careful what I say, stuff like that. So that's what she instilled in us as students, and especially working hard to do the little stuff. The little things are important when it comes to that. When it comes to like flyering, when it comes to doing little meet and greets and stuff like that for little promotions for stuff. Certain things like that. We would go to supermarkets and post up like stations for like some sort of either a drink or something like that. We would go out and do that. Oh, we need a couple guys to do this. We need a couple guys to do that. And she's an actress as well, so she will send people roles. And so like she will send people roles and auditions and stuff like that. So like regardless of how this is, you got to be multifaceted. So a lot of the times, if you got that lesson, you had longevity in business. So it like that, like if once you understand the little parts of especially the business, you're not going to be taken advantage of. You're not going to be paid under your worth, and you're not going to be undervalued when it comes to the product that you offer. So Charmel was a big component of that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very important lesson. It's something that's taken me a very long time to figure out,
Yeah,
and I hate to say it, but I don't think that I was stupid and not figuring it out.
yeah,
it just it just takes wisdom, and I'm 29. I
yeah.
probably figured it out about 4 or 5 years ago, and I
Okay,
really started to figure out and then started to put it into practice. And
yeah,
I did something in January where people were not happy with, but I
yeah.
know what my worth is. So
Hmm.
know, that's the thing, and everybody else can get over that problem. It's a
Yeah,
them problem, not a me problem. And some people understood what I was doing, and it's very important. Um, but yeah, no, it's something that I think wrestlers need to figure out and learn.
yes.
And also,
Hmm.
there's something too where it's okay to be underpaid a little bit if
Sure.
there's real promotion involved.
If there's something that you're getting back that is worth it, highlights, videotape, portfolio, upgrades, stuff like that, networking, anything like that. If that's worth it, I'll take a pay cut, no problem. If that's worth
I mean,
it.
I'll throw a number out there, and I'll throw something out there. If you can go to a promotion that'll pay you $50 less than what your normal rate is, but it's always
Mhm.
streamed out on IWTV, that's a no-brainer. And the
No
reason why
brainer.
that's a
Yeah.
no-brainer is the amount of streaming publicity and the amount of Twitter engagement you're going to get is going to
Hmm.
make up that $50 in pennies.
Yep.
And the amount of eyes on you, it's
Yeah.
a no-brainer. But
That's
again,
a lot of back end stuff as well when it comes to like revenues and stuff. You put your link on something like that, you got a highlight clip, you create a little highlight clip for yourself that was on IWTV, which they have amazing camera work and amazing production to make yourself look way better than you probably do. So like that's great business. That's amazing business. That's why I've been a little picky with my bookings. But the people that I do work with, I know that I trust that that platform can platform not only myself, my guys, but my constituents to the next level, which we all want. So absolutely, absolutely, in a heartbeat.
It's the same thing where people are not happy with me because I've become very selective this year, and I'm
Hmm.
going to probably even be more selective next year for season
That's
4 of
okay.
my show. And the reason why is that I get a certain quality of guest. I
Hmm.
get access to a lot of people that people don't have access to.
Yeah.
I just had the Bushwhackers on like 6 weeks
Nice.
ago.
Okay.
So I mean, again, it goes back to access, and
Yeah.
I have a bunch more coming on next year of
Hmm.
fascinating people in the wrestling industry that people are going to like, and
Yeah.
I can't say anything more about it because it's under wraps right now. But
That's fine.
it's
That's
going to
fine.
involve food. It's going to involve food, is all I'm going to say. It's going to be a crazy interview. It's going to be a wild party.
Okay,
But again,
okay.
People get angry at me because I'm like, well, I have to protect my brand and I have to protect
Yeah.
me. Enough about that, because I want to get into
Yeah.
the wrestling stuff, and I want to get
All
what I
right.
you into from, and I definitely want to go New England. So we're going
Yes.
to be talking about like 3 or 4 promotions,
Mm-hmm.
relatively New England, and I
Yep.
think the best place to start is Chaotic Wrestling,
Okay.
because there's some interesting stuff that happened between you and Danny Miles there, and that's a hoss fight. That's a hoss fight. There's been like
Yes.
9 parts to this fight too, which is crazy.
Yes. So
and he scares me. He scares me more than you.
Danny's a rabid pit bull. He's one of those. He's one of those. He's one of those cannonball guys. Short, stocky. Will run you right through. Like you can't let him out of your sight for a second. Danny Miles is not only is he in martial arts, not only does he wrestle with the best of them, but he has a great personality and a crazy work ethic. If you've seen, especially that match that you're referring to, if you see him well, myself as well. If you see us then and see us now, especially Danny looks 100 million times better than when he did over there. Even though he didn't look bad, but he looks amazing today. So that's the hard work and work ethic of that man right there.
Yeah, we're gonna get back to that because that's not finished. Parts of that are not finished. And that's Wrestling Open. That's Wrestling Open. But I want to table that because in Chaotic, you formed a really cool team with TJ Crawford.
Yes.
And TYJ.
Ty J. Yes.
I love it. I like saying TYJ because it's like Y2J. It's Ty J.
Oh,
That's why. And you
man.
had some crazy matches. The MSP matches were insane.
Yes.
And then the CJ Cruz and Ricky Archer match was good
the
too.
And,
what were these like? Because anytime you get to face MSP, I mean, they're a New England stable.
Mm-hmm.
They've been around forever. Danger Kid is beyond talented.
Yes.
Beyond. And then Aiden Argo is great too. But I love Danger Kid and anything Danger Kid. I don't think there's not anything Danger Kid can't do at this point.
Yes. Me and Tej, it was a wild idea from Chase Del Monte, and who's the promoter and owner of Chaotic, and here's a partner. We're bringing him in. I'm like, what? I got 2 guys we could come in with. He's like, no, here's TJ, and I'm like, who the? I've seen him around, but I didn't really know him like that. And I was just like, whatever. And then we started working, and we have instant chemistry. He's also funny as hell, and he's also super talented. So I'm like, I can make this work. I'm not gonna shy away from the challenge, which turned out not to be a challenge at all because everybody involved was talented. So, matches like that, matches like MSP, matches like the kids, and like these guys are talented. All we had to do was make sure we can execute at the highest level as a team, which I feel we have. And our story was really, really good. You know what I'm saying? So all credits to TJ when it comes to that. And especially the pandemic era of Chaotic was something special. it was something special. So that whole platform was amazing. That whole platform is amazing.
Yeah, and then even going further into the specialness of Chaotic during the pandemic, the Mike Verna matches were crazy too. And so there was one that was, I think, a regular match, and then there was a TLC match.
Yep.
And that match was crazy.
Yes, my tables match. Yes.
Crazy. Probably wouldn't have happened if it was normal wrestling, I feel. And it was perfect.
Probably not. The setup was it actually happened a week later, a week or 2 weeks later, than it was supposed to, because the match that he had before, that Monty has one of the most wicked super kicks on the planet, he got kicked in the head, and so he was out like a light, and he was just like, all right, I could wait for him. Boom, boom, boom. We had a great setup. Everything was great. Um, Mike Verna is probably one of my favorite opponents, because we just get it. And I like an opponent who can hit as hard as me. And we can go back and forth for forever. And I'm actually going to take this time to shout out to Mike Verna, because unfortunately he had a car accident that took him out. He's currently nursing from, shattered his leg and stuff like that, and he's healing up. Big shout out to Mike Verna. We love you, and speedy recovery, my friend. So.
So to even talk about this though, and with your match with Mike Verna,
Hmm.
one of the things is that he hits as hard as you do. It
Yes.
also feels like a fight. And I hate
Yes.
to say this, but sometimes in wrestling, you look at something and you're like, oh, this doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like a
Yeah.
fight. It
Hmm.
feels like somebody is a massive underdog and somebody is the overdog versus saying,
Hmm.
hey, we're just going to have two people going to war and we don't know who's
Yep.
going to win. And it can go either
Oh
way.
yeah. Oh
Like
yeah.
some matches, it's going to just go one way.
Hmm.
What was this like? Because that also, and obviously the COVID era is a little bit different because you don't have an audience.
Hmm.
But even if you did have an audience, obviously the audience, when you have two guys going at it and it's a 50-50,
Hmm.
the audience is really glued in.
Yeah. So with Verna, a popular saying goes, "Styles make fights," and when you see somebody like me who's in that time, you know, I was destroying people. You know what I mean? And everybody who came in my way, they were getting power bombed to Kingdom Come, and and then authority got in the way, and then Mike Verna, being a fighting champion that he is, he's the good looking, body chiseled out of stone guy. I'm the gritty gutter guy. And we just went at it. He ain't going back down. I ain't going back down. And regardless of what the camera is looking at, this fight is going to happen. So regardless of if we're cool, we're not cool, everybody friends, everybody not friends, I'm gonna bust your ass. And he had that same mindset. So that's how you get a match like that. To go in like that. We're not gonna hold everything back. Like one of the matches, my gear exploded, and I wrestled the whole match with a broken singlet zipper, and I was like, I can go run off and tend to this, or I can continue this fight. I'm not gonna back down, regardless of how I look like. Everything could be out, whatever. We fight. We go and we fight. We going in. So we can get to the mud and throw down like that, and that's how Mike Verna was. So big ups to Mike Verna, but we gonna bust each other's ass when we in the ring.
Yeah, and it was great because obviously you got that first match and you get the ladder match and
Mm-hmm.
ladder's TLC match, and that's finalization, I feel, because that's how you end a big fight.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You don't just end it in a traditional match. It's the idea
Mm-hmm.
that you raise the stakes up. There's obviously a lot more carnage involved. And
Mm-hmm.
there's also, I feel that you get more creative with chairs and ladders and tables,
Mm-hmm.
and then that whether you win or you lose, at
Mm-hmm.
least you're going to take a piece out of the
Oh
champ.
yeah.
If
Oh
you're
yeah.
going down, you're going to go down swinging.
Oh
And
yeah. He remembers me. You know what I mean? He remembers me. So that's what it is. That's how you gotta do. Whatever you go into, make sure they remember you. Make sure they remember you.
then even around this time too,
Yeah.
obviously we're in the COVID era, and Limitless decided to do something. And I,
Yep.
and I was a little late to the party. I jumped in
Mm-hmm.
onto the road on episode 5 because I didn't get it. I didn't get it at first. I honestly
Uh-huh.
did not get it. I got no problem admitting that. But then
Mhm.
when I watched episode 5 and 6, I was like, oh, I get this now. But
Yeah.
how did you get into Limitless? And how did that come about? Because it was very interesting. And Logan Black was explaining things to me on how it was filmed and how it was done and how there was basically 2 or 3 sessions that they were filming all this stuff over like 2 days and things like that.
Bro.
I mean, I don't think that's the secret per se anymore, at least. Maybe Logan should have explained that to me. I don't know.
I'm laughing because there would be like 40 matches on the car. We would go all day just filming matches. Uh, um, but how I got into Limitless is my good friend AG, Anthony Green. He's trained at NEPWA, New England Pro Wrestling Academy, which is chaotic. Um, and when I was training, he this is kind of right before he went to the E, and he was just like, my friend Randy, we like what you do, yada yada yada. We're doing this thing called the Road. I came in season 2. He's like, go up, and show what you got. And I was like, what's going on? How's this gonna work? And Randy hit me up. We go up, and then I saw the format, and I was like, this is going to be a long 2 days. So, we would get hotels and stuff like that, and enjoy that weekend, 2 day taping. And I filmed maybe 4 or 5 matches, 4 or 5 matches in one of those weekends that will last forever. And, you know, getting to meet a lot of the people that are mainstays now. The Road was definitely a great platform. Like for wrestling in the pandemic, for wrestling in a global emergency, a whole bunch of guidelines, whole bunch of what we can and can't do for us as a wrestling community to come together and have a platform to do what we love instead of just sitting home getting out of shape or getting ring rust and stuff like that. We came in and had some quality reps and got to show our personality and stuff like that. The Road also helped as well because there was a lot of people who retired, a lot of people who held on the spots retired and left the business. Pandemic did that to a lot of people, and there was spots that were open, and I know I can hold one and put a stranglehold on it. So give me a platform like that. All I need is one, and I'm never letting it go. So the
There's
Road
this
was one of
guy,
those.
I don't know if you know who O'Shea Edwards is.
Oh, I love O'Shea.
O'Shea,
I love
great.
him. Shane Taylor Promotions. I love him. Yeah,
He's fantastic. There's a
yeah.
great picture of me and him on my Facebook wall
Mm.
where this is after he won the primetime championship.
Mm.
And he robbed it from Bro Keller, which is really
Yeah.
funny. The steel cage match. It's a great match.
Yeah.
So I wanted to buy a shirt, and he was out doing something, and he had friends from down south up
Yeah.
there, and so I have both belts on my shoulder, and then he's like pretending to take like a nap, really tired as the champ. He's great. He's great. He had like a 3-hour interview a while back.
Yeah.
It's it's
Hmm.
it's it's great. But not the point. What he was saying is that I think it's so true is that COVID was at the starting line, got reset.
Yes.
And,
Absolutely.
and so I made a decision during the middle of COVID. They were right at the beginning to start going live. I started pumping out interviews like
Yeah.
crazy. And
Hmm.
a lot of people tried to do it, and a lot of people didn't understand that you had to go all in. There was
Yep.
no, hesitation.
Not at
And
all.
that's one of the things that I think is super interesting that he said. And I think that's what the Road was in a lot of ways is that
Yeah.
look, the starting line just got reset and
Hmm.
you're in a new era. And we're starting to now see that the front runners are the people who, when things got really bad, found opportunities. And so what was that like for you? Because you had matches against Danger Kid, you faced Mac
Hmm.
Daniels, Big Beef,
Hmm.
Dylan Nix,
Yep.
BM, BA Tatum.
Yep.
It's another great match. And so what was this like? Because again, the starting line got reset and
Hmm.
everybody had time to watch
Yep.
wrestling. And so if
Hmm.
you said, hey, look, I want to go and do this, I think a bunch of people have come out ahead. Armenian Chaos is a good example of that. Paris Van Dale's a
Yep.
good example of that.
Hmm. I
Filming
love them. Yes, I love
Rip
them. Yep.
are
Hmm.
good examples. I mean, Bobby Orlando.
Yes.
Bobby Orlando is the star out of that entire era. No,
Yeah.
nothing against you, but
No,
that
no, I
guy is
agree.
beyond over. He's
Hmm.
beyond over.
Absolutely.
And if WWE or AEW is not looking at him, those companies are wrong. They're,
As I
they're wrong.
agree.
Don't touch him. Everything he's doing, that goat shit. If you don't mind me saying,
Completely,
amazing.
completely, completely. You're completely correct. Um, having matches like that, it was it was great because like I was new to the area. I was new to the scene. I was new to the New England scene. So to go up there and just run gauntlet of matches with people I've never met before, other than other than being at the road and finding out there's a lot more than my small neck of the woods. To have matches with such talented people, different personalities, styles make fights, plenty of more styles to go through, seeing what I'm made out of, and seeing where I rank in all of these people's eyes and stuff like that, because they've never seen me before either. So I had to show up and show out. And having those matches with those guys, you know, like sometimes you learn better than on the job than in simulation, if that makes sense. So like having the cameras on, having people you haven't worked with before, having matches with them, and having those quality reps. I've learned a lot from these guys. What I can do, what I can do to other people, what I can do for other people. Like having those matches was a great learning tool for me.
Yeah, and also I just think that it was such a unique experience, the road. And
Yes.
obviously they did season one, they did season two, they did season three.
Hmm.
I don't know. I honestly think that it's a brilliant concept, even without a global pandemic,
Hmm.
because it gives a lot of freedom on the editing side, where you're going to put
Yeah.
matches, how you can
Hmm.
structure stories, how you can
Yep.
map out something ahead of time massively, and also
Hmm.
you have everybody there. If that already
Yeah.
makes sense, it's kind of like shooting the Lord of the Rings movies. All of
Yep.
them were done in a row. The same thing with
Yep.
The Hobbit. It makes
Hmm.
sense because you know what is you have everybody there, everybody clears up their schedule, and
Yeah.
then a long weekend is gone. Their 6 matches are out of the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Just on a booking position. If I am ever to run a promotion, it might be run that way because it's a hell of a lot easier, I feel.
Yeah. It's I don't envy Randy for that position at all. Just watching the boards, people doing 40 40 matches, the cameraman filming all of them. Randy took the camera himself and he's filming them. He has to go back and he did the commentary for them. A lot of the staff were there to take care of the wrestlers and stuff and bring them supplies and stuff. This was literally an all day thing. We got there at 9. Some people didn't leave till about 10 o'clock at night. And just filming, making sure we had data in the cards so we can film all this bullshit. You know what I mean? So like from the very little detail to running a 2 hour show to running a whole day of production. That's a whole different genre of television right there that you're trying to film, and and you're trying to do this platform and make sure every step of the way is crisp and clean, and you're not giving up quality for the quantity that you're bringing in. So I don't envy those guys at all. So like, if you want to run it that way, go right ahead. I'll do my best. But it's a stressful time. But after those 2 days, clean. After those 2 days, it's clean, and the product came out beautifully.
And even to talk about that, because obviously there was no fans there. It was all
Yeah,
wrestlers.
it's all the
And
boys.
it's kind of tricky because you're wrestling in front of all these people who are
Yeah.
wrestlers. And look, when I have a bunch of podcasters that I know are watching the interview and
Hmm.
they all interview, they're gonna notice things, they're gonna see things
Hmm.
that somebody who's not an interviewer is not gonna notice. And so
Yeah,
they're more critical. And so I would imagine wrestlers are more
man.
critical, and also they can be more mean, or if you know you didn't do something correctly, but you didn't do it wrong enough for me to
Yeah.
know as a fan. But
Oh,
you know
that.
you
Oh,
messed it up, and they're gonna
ooh,
point it out, right? So what was
man.
that like? And then on top of that, to even add to this, obviously, you don't get to see the reaction. And I hate to say this, but there's been so many times in wrestling where somebody's supposed to be the heel, but
Mm-hmm.
the crowd is with the heel and not the face. And so the heel has to win because the heel's really the face and the face is
Mm-hmm.
really the heel.
Yeah.
And so that like, because that's what Twitter was for essentially during
Mm-hmm.
old premieres, is that
Yeah.
what the audience was, but the match is done. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like
No, I get it.
yeah,
No, I
I
get
mean,
it. I get
nobody
it.
gets it. Like,
Like so, like it was the most awkward, but yet the most satisfying thing to wrestle in front of a jury of your peers. One, if you did something great, they'll let you know. If you did something bad, they'll let you know, but make it to seem as if you're supposed to do it or something like that, or just like it's an awkward shift from regular people to jury of your peers when something like that happens. But when you and that's the term that we say as in the wrestling business, pop the boys. When you pop the boys, you really pop the boys. The boys ain't gonna give it to you if you don't pop the boys. You know what I'm saying? They ain't gonna give it to you unless you really gave it to them. So when you get those genuine reactions from people and turn those wrestlers into fans that in that moment, then like if you watch the road, there's this one moment where um, the commentator Ethan was going against was going against the undefeated Mastodon over there, and Eric Johnson, I believe his name was, and he gave him a stunner. That was the most genuine reaction of the boys you've ever seen in your life. And I was right there. I was sitting right there, and I was like, I was thoroughly sports entertained that day. I was thoroughly entertained, and I forgot I was a wrestler. I thought I was in an actual show, and moments like that will I will never forget for the rest of my life. Stuff like that. And we are all talented wrestlers, watching wrestling. So like when you could take yourself out of the always critiquing and judging and stuff like that, and moments bring you into that fandom that you got into the business for. Oh, it's golden. It's amazing. It's wonderful. You pop the boys, is it.
because it's just weird. And obviously, I mean, I saw all this, watching it, premiered, tweeting about it, having a great time with it. And so, what was that like too? Because now this is coming out weekly, essentially. You have
Mm-hmm.
a few matches, but now you filmed it, so you know how it ends, but we
Yeah.
don't. And so,
Uh-huh.
what was that like? Because technically, and obviously, we were speaking about branding before, it's also how you engage with somebody on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you have to engage with all of us on
Mm-hmm.
Twitter weeks, if not months later. And so what was
Yep.
that like too? Because it's almost like it never ended.
Yeah, because sometimes you forgot what you did. There's some matches like, oh, I forgot I did that, or I forgot I shot that promo or stuff like that because of the sheer quantity of stuff. Um, but to kind of just like say nothing but say everything at the same time, keep people engaged, but yet not blow the load. You know what I'm saying? So it's you gotta kind of frame out how I want to say something per match that you had. The one question I asked Randy when we're going through matches and what we're going to do and stuff like that was when is this gonna air? Either when is this gonna air or what order is this in my line of matches? You know what I'm saying? Because there'll be times where I filmed a match before the result of another match. You know what I'm saying? So then this match will be after this actual match. So when is this going to be? All right. So I have to have that mindset of whatever that first match was, and that match that never happened, but it's sandwiched in between two matches that you actually had that you haven't had it yet, if that makes sense. So you gotta kind of order yourself in that timeline. Especially, there's some guys who just had matches and just didn't worry about it. I worried about the whole production as a whole. Where am I going with this stuff? Because at the end of the day, it's my brand, and I want to make sure we actually go somewhere with it. So to order it like that, it's you have to kind of not write it down on paper, but have a good idea of what you're doing when it comes to podcasting, when it comes to wrestling and stuff like that. In that situation, you want to have an idea of how you're going to start, how you're going to finish, and what you're going to do in between. So interacting on Twitter about matches that I haven't had yet. And when I have another one right after, if a result determines from that match I haven't had. So you got to already have that in your head before you start interacting with Twitter and stuff like that. That people just run off at the mouth, but you have to plan that out strategically.
Because it's just interesting. We obviously live in a very different world, and we live in a very different wrestling world than we lived in 3 years ago, where COVID has made wrestling Twitter a lot more important, in my opinion. And so that's something that is just how I think, is that obviously I get a lot of interviews off Twitter, you know what I mean? And I engage. And when I'm watching something live, I tweet about it. I tweet about wrestling. I tweet about wrestling.
That's how it should. That's exactly how it should. I commend you on that. That's exactly how it should be.
And so I'm interacting, and I like when people interact with me. I mean, I had Landon Hale on, and the whole thing came out as a joke.
Good doctor. Yes.
Yeah, it came out as a joke because I'm like, hey, we were joking around, and then we were trying to one-up each other. I said, I'll one-up you. I'll have you on my show. It's like, I'm going to follow you, and I said, not if I follow you back first. and it was becoming a very funny tweet thread because all of a sudden, but it was in real time. It was like maybe like 10, 15 minutes after his match. But it's also, I'm interacting with fans. I mean, there's all these wrestlers, and some wrestlers know really well how to interact with people. Yeah. I mean, Pedro Drones was interacting with me. Max Caster has been interacting with me. And it's funny when these people interact with you and then other people jump in and they like it. It's crazy, and it's so important. But I digress right there because we should talk about this, but I do want to talk about Prolific.
Yes.
CZW, some other things. So what is the story behind this? How did this come about, and all that fun stuff?
All right. So Prolific, 3 like-minded individuals, the new gold standard, Marcus Marquis, the American Gangster, Isaiah Wolf, and the big boy from Brooklyn, Tyree Taylor, started in our Warriors days. And they were just starting to tag. And, I was running through the ranks of Warriors. And Isaiah came up to me. He's like, I got this idea. And I was already friends with these guys. And, something I didn't want to say, I didn't have no reason to say no to. And we just started going through the professional wrestling ranks together. And, they became my best friends. And, Prolific is here, but,
Yeah, let's even talk about that because CZW, I think it is.
CZW, yes.
I mean, there were some serious fights with Grimm that were involved in all this. And then obviously there were some individual fights with Grimm that were involved in all this. There's a pretty insane dog collar match too. Haven't seen one in a while. Honestly, they kind of scare me very much. I am not a fan of the dog collar match, to be quite honest. It just seems
I'm not either.
It seems like it's so painful, and it seems like so much can go wrong. Like, to me, a strap match is just a better solution.
No. No. Me and Grimm, especially CZW, one day said, "Hey, we're doing this rebrand, and would you like to come up and do a tryout match?" And I brought Marcus Marquis, and we had a tryout match with some of their students at the time, and we did absolutely amazing. And they decided to bring all of us in, and we had the rec shop from the beginning, with guys like the Rep, who are mainstays, 3-time tag team champions for CZW, and then you got Grimm. Grimm is one of the most underappreciated people in professional wrestling. I hate his guts. and and he is one of those people who will bite you and fight you tooth and nail, scratch and claw. And when he hits you, he hits you. And if you saw that dog collar match, it took a kendo stick to the back and still have that scar. you know, so like CZW gave us something that we had, but we didn't think we had enough of, and which is grit, and had that toughness, that mental toughness to go through and hang with CZW. Like God, that's one of the best platforms in professional wrestling, and to be there and dominate, especially a rebrand, and they focused it on us, Prolific. It was amazing. But having guys like Grimm, Paul Jordan, Aaron Ash, all huge guys, and Rayo, having guys like Rayo and stuff like that, the rep and C&D, all those guys are hungry to have a platform where everybody is hungry like that, and you got to do what you got to do to make sure you get to the top of a platform like CZW. Like you then you get a match like the dog collar match, where
So
where
to even
I'm
go
threatening
further,
kids.
to even go further into that,
Yeah.
one of the things is that what I like about these matches in CCW is that they are gritty.
Hmm.
Obviously they go deep into the well. I feel a
Hmm.
bunch of these and
Yes.
what I've seen of them. I haven't seen everything, but I've seen enough of
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
I've seen that dog collar match. It's an
Hmm.
intense match.
Yeah.
But what is that like too to now say, hey, I have this under my belt and I've done this, because obviously other
Hmm.
people look at this stuff and to say, look, I've done this type of match and I can hold my own, and I can hold my own in CCW,
Hmm.
and that, I could go in multiple horse fights. I can go into some extreme fights. And, it's the idea that glory also lives forever. So you
Yep.
might be in pain short term, but
Hmm.
glory lives forever. And
Yeah.
so what is that like for you? Because now people go their whole career without, doing a dog collar match. And
Yeah.
you've done one now. And it's like, but like it also shows what you can do in the ring.
Yeah.
And it shows that you're versatile as well. Because
Yes.
to be realistic, if you do a dog collars match, it's not, people can do a ladders match, people can do a
Hmm.
tables match, doing a chairs match. It's nothing special. Doesn't
Hmm.
mean that it's not hard to do it. It's
Yeah.
just that everybody's done it, but not everybody's done that dog collar match stuff. And
Yeah.
when you do it well, there's some
Hmm.
versatility now in play. And also, I feel like it inspires creativity as well.
Yeah. So, with me being, I love being creative, especially with the tools you put in front of me. So I had a hard time to understand this stuff. I didn't even look at past dog collar matches. I just say they said, "Hey, this is going to be around your neck. This is how long the chain is. This is what we can do." I said, "You know what? Bet." And having a match like that just shows how creative you can be. And remember, the point that we were talking about earlier is, would you do something for your half your rate to do something that's going to stand the test of time, with something like that. Like those, that's one of the things that I would do, for half my rate, because the production is amazing. The story that was going in, it was top notch, I feel. And you can always go back and look at something like that. You look at Tyree Taylor, the brand. You want to look and do some research. Tyree Taylor brand, that match is on there. Now you're involved in not only my match but Grimm's match as well, and Grimm's career as well. So like doing something like that and doing it right, it's something that I can hold dear, because every wrestler and everybody, like just like you, if you have a big star to interview, you want that on the resume. You know that you can interview big stars and big time stars, and for it to go well. Same thing for professional wrestlers. What promotion, what kind of match, what kind of style, what can you do in and out of the ring, stuff like that. To have CZW and to have a dog collar match in my bag, in my repertoire, it just shows these other promotions that, hey, I can do it all, but
I mean,
that's it.
you said something very interesting, and I'm going to sum it up because it
Yeah.
pertains to me too. I believe in doing what is right for business.
Yes.
So I will. I mean, I charge soon enough. My speaking fee on certain topics is going to be exuberantly high,
Yeah.
and I'm worth every penny of it. But there's certain places that I would speak for free
Yeah.
because there's prestige involved. It's
Yeah.
also a good branding opportunity. But
Hmm.
it goes back to, you said something about certain interview stars that I've had on. Again, it's branding, where there's a reason why this season in particular I've become extremely selective.
Yeah.
And either people know that or people don't feel like they could ask anymore to be on my
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
But I like that. I like the fact that 98% of my guests this entire season were my choice, which
Okay.
is crazy. And that's including people who asked. I've had about 9 people who asked to be on my show this season. Have
Okay.
me. I'm probably gonna end the season around 140 for interview wise, 140
Okay.
interviews, and I love it. I don't like to be asked because I want to pick the best that I can
Yes.
get, and I've done well with that. I mean, I just had the voice of Jinbei from One Piece on a little while ago,
Hmm.
the Bushwhackers on.
Yes.
At this stage, if I want Mickey Knuckles back on, that's not that hard to get. And there's all these top people that I can get on, including you.
Yeah.
And so that's something. I'm having Billy Starks coming on November 8th,
Okay.
for the third time, the second time this year and the third time overall. So, yeah, I think that's what people don't understand is that, again, this is branding and it's a good business decision. And I think that's the whole thing. And
Okay.
even wrestling for free sometimes might make a good decision
Yep.
because if you get in front of the right people and it's a top show and you're in
Hmm.
the main event and GCW doesn't want to pay you, but you're in the main event facing a guy like Effie,
Yeah.
that is a no-brainer to take no money for that fight because you will make your money on the back end with
Oh
just
yeah.
in viewership. Just in viewership, and the branding on it would be so worth every amount of money you gave up.
Absolutely, because Effie is marketable and the brand is marketable as well. So why wouldn't you want to do something like that? And then once you prove that your worth is very high, then you tell them what the pockets look like because you can elevate that show as well. So everything's about leverage, leverage and negotiation. That's big business right there. I used to do life insurance, so sales and all, and I was very cutthroat and business minded. So being in something like that like helped me understand little things like that, especially when Charmel would say something like that, and understand the weight of negotiation and weight of your value holds to certain platforms in anything you do.
Oh
So
man,
like
you're like
like
speaking my language right now. See, this is the
yes,
whole
man.
problem. All these people who want to be on my show figure out what I want. Figure out what I
Uh-huh.
want. And if you don't know what I want, I got a little thing that you can do to figure out what I want.
Uh-huh.
Ask me what I want.
Yeah.
Because I might want money. Hey,
Uh-huh.
I might want merch.
Yeah.
Hey, I might want you to accept the Instagram reel that I created for you.
Yeah.
Know what I want. And so
Uh-huh.
if you want to get on my show, it's not that hard. If you don't know what somebody wants, because maybe
Hmm.
somebody doesn't want an exuberant amount of money,
Yeah.
maybe they want to guarantee that if you're running 100 shows, they want to be on 25 of them at a
Yeah.
decent price.
Hmm.
Maybe somebody says, I want to wrestle. Maybe somebody says, look, you got a big event. I mean, I'll throw you some. I don't think you weren't part of American Rana this year, right?
Uh I was in Wrestling Open right before Macarona. I was in the Wrestling Open that same day. But I was
But
like,
you
yeah.
get where I'm going with this. Where
Yep.
it's because
Absolutely.
my dream is that I've been wrestling for 10 years. I've done every top major indie promotion. And I want to match at American Rana,
Yeah.
and you're hitting up beyond, and that's the last punch card on your ticket,
Yep.
and you're a wrestler. You might
Mm-hmm.
take less money because you, as an independent wrestler, might say, look, this is my last punch card because
Yep.
then I've completed something that I've always wanted to do. And so somebody might take less money because they want a match at American Rana, or
Yep.
they might want to face somebody like Chris Dickinson at American Rana, and they
Yep.
might want to take less money because
Yes.
of it. And that's the whole thing about asking somebody what they want. Because sometimes in life, things aren't about money anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Things are about saying, I have 10 matches left in me, and I want to choose my last 10 opponents, and I want to end my career at this event. And they'll
And
take.
not only does the wrestler have that wish list, but it's the promotion as well. Your promotion that you come to me with or I come to you with has to be worth its weight in salt for me to make such demands and for you to make such demands out of me. So like this has to be a true partnership, even if it's a one-off. For that one night, we're partners. For that one night, we're partners to do something great, to put on TV, to put your logo on whatever I do, and for me to make sure your logo is good enough to put on my resume. So like that stuff
That's
right there is important.
I mean, I'll throw something else out there too. I refused a sponsor from somebody because I did not find their product to be in the best interest of all these people in comics.
Yep.
And I kept on pushing it off because I didn't want to say, I find your product to be extremely scammy. I
Yeah.
find that your services to be detrimental. And I've worked my ass off to build out my brand over
Yeah.
the last 12 years. And I am not about to staple my logo all over a horrible product that, in my opinion, screws people who
Mhm.
trust me and have trusted me for the last, 8 years or so. And that's the thing. And that's the other thing too. I mean, I think that, people need to get it.
Yeah.
And it's this is like a whole seminar. This is like
Yeah.
this is your next career, not within the ring, but just start giving seminars right before a
I
wrestling.
can.
I'm like,
I can.
this
I
is just, I'm
can.
telling you. Every wrestler needs to hear this.
I can.
Just say it. Just
Yeah.
say it.
And like to piggyback off what you're saying though, like if you don't believe in a product, how is anybody else supposed to believe me about your product? You know what I'm saying? Like if you have the eyes like I do, I can see right through you. I can tell that especially if I'm watching a YouTuber or something like that, and they go to something like Manscaped or something like that, and they don't have any body hair, and they don't have any body hair. I think you use that product? You know what I'm saying? And you, to the fullest extent, you know what I mean? Like you selling me these cell phone games. You're a Pokemon player, and you don't play Dungeons and Dragons, on your phone. You don't do that. I know that you don't do that. You know what I'm saying? So, but if I do enjoy that, and I can talk to you about it, like I'm sitting here and then I sitting to you talking to you for an hour about wrestling and business. I enjoy those things. You believe that I enjoy those things. I believe that you enjoy those things,
Oh, I love
and
it. I love it.
and we can engage properly as a product and consumer. So, like, if regardless of your brand, you go in and you believe in your brand, you believe what you're worth, you believe what you can do. If you can show it, and people invest in you, and they don't see right through your phoniness, if you are phony, real recognize real, and we can make something happen, and that's how business starts.
Yeah, I think it's so true, and it's crazy. And I was in a sponsorship that I believed in as a printing company, and
Mm-hmm.
I actually undervalued myself because I got a
Yeah.
huge amount of return from my sponsor.
Yeah.
I thought that I was going to get them half of what I got them, and they
Mm.
paid me way below market value, and it shifted my viewpoint completely, and realized that, oh snap, I'm worth a lot more than I
Yeah.
realized. And but
Mm-hmm.
it was the first time I ever did a sponsorship. It could have gone either way, but apparently people who are my fans really needed that sponsorship.
Yeah.
The printing company, they wanted comic printing. The prices
Mm-hmm.
were better, and I returned an exuberant amount of sales
And,
to my former sponsor. And they're a great company, but obviously things change, and it was time to
yeah.
move on. But I realize what I'm worth, and everybody else doesn't seem to think that. But I know what I brought to that company. I know
Yeah.
what I'm worth. So if you can't
See,
pay me what I'm worth, I have a day job, so I don't
uh,
need to take
yeah.
low prices. I could
Yeah.
choose my deals, and I can operate how I choose. Not to
Yeah.
mention I have a side business that has
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with this. So
Yeah.
I don't need a sponsor. Sponsors
Mm-hmm.
are just fun because if I don't have to use my own money to do this
Exactly.
show,
Yeah.
that's the goal.
Like, look, and this is what business minded people think about, the little details. I would take a deal that I want to get into, maybe a bad deal, maybe like for a couple months, whatever the term of that contract is, and gather that information. So when I do am up for negotiations or re-upping on something else or going for a new acquisition, I can use that leverage and that understanding of what that old contract was and how bad it was or how good it was to make sure I get the best deal possible.
Oh,
So, you know,
I would have kept them at the same price, for every single episode going forward for a while because
yeah,
it wasn't a bad deal. It
but
was
you
just
have that information now. You have that information now to where you can make it a better job to when it's time for a re-up, it's time for renegotiations. You can put more in your pocket, or you can broaden your horizons, or you can do whatever you can do in a
the
situation like that.
background.
So
For my next sponsor, I know exactly what I have to say.
there you go.
This is what I am. But again, I understand the potential, what I can bring, what I brought to my old, and I also understand how much sales are, what their costs are, so I can leave them enough room on the bone to eat too, so that
Exactly.
my costs are low enough, and I can raise my prices by $200-300, and I'm getting more money in my pocket, but I'm leaving still a huge amount on the bone because they're a
Yep.
business and they need enough room to wiggle.
Yep.
And so if I can make an extra $200, but leave them still half the meat on the bone after all their costs, it's a no-brainer.
hmm
No-brainer. But
And if you build it, the people will come and people will spend money on what they find value in. So if they still find your product valuable, they're going to pay for it. So
it's not that they find it valuable; they need the discount because every
yeah,
time they can get 5 to 10% off their comic printing, they're running a Kickstarter, and so every time they can do that, that means they have to raise the less
yeah,
money because their costs go down. And so
hmm
that's the key. And then that company that didn't have a client now has a client. I have
yeah,
money, which covers everything. And it's a win-win situation for everybody because somebody's
hmm
getting business, somebody's costs are getting lower, which means they
yeah,
need to raise less money, which means that their likelihood of them getting funded faster occurs, which means that
hmm
they potentially get more fans or they get hearing higher in the algorithm. It's insane and it's awesome.
yes.
Because,
Oh,
again,
that sounds
it's
amazing.
how I
Yeah,
think, and it's just like, oh, it's epic. But this is a whole different conversation for a whole different
yeah,
day on so
yeah.
much stuff. But
If you
like,
don't go into business to help people, what are you going into business for?
see, my whole goal is that the only way I make money in my life is by helping somebody make money or get something they want. That's
Yep.
the only way I get money. And
hmm
I have a comic book selling business, and I find rare books for people
hmm
or books. And look, I charge more than what I paid for them, but guess what? They're happy
Yeah,
because they're getting
they're
what they
paying for your
want.
services though.
And
Their services to do so, the convenience of that service that you're bringing them what they need. And you're just a call away or a tweet away or something like that to
it's
where
on
they can get
eBay.
that book that they need.
They come perfectly. People pay more for my shipping, where they'll pay 12, 13, 14 bucks. But guess what?
hmm
My book arrives perfectly. It
Yep.
arrives perfect, and that's what they want.
hmm
It's immaculate. So
Yep.
people pay for things they want that are immaculate and to their specifications. Or what happens is that it sells out, and I have a copy or I have 3 copies, and
Yep.
they want it because it's limited. And so there you go too. And so
Yep.
that's the whole thing is that they want it, and people are willing to spend money for things they want. But I digress. Let's talk
Absolutely.
about Wrestling Open because that's
Yeah,
um
we can talk business all day. I love it. I love
no, my whole goal is that I'm having a crazy year on eBay. I'm having a crazy
it.
year. It's my greatest year. I have no idea how I'm doing it. This was not my intention. But I'm loving it and it's fantastic. And I
Awesome.
have a self-sustaining business. It's and then I have a day job and I started that 5 weeks ago. So my life is awesome, but not the
That's
point
right.
here.
That's
Not the
right. That's
point.
right.
It's not always easy, but it's taken like 10 years to get to this stage in my life.
Awesome.
Um, but I digress. Wrestling Open though, because
Yes.
Wrestling Open, as I stated, I think is the best thing in wrestling in the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think IWTV is pretty close second, if not tied, just collectively, because it's a brilliant, brilliant company.
Yeah.
But yeah, how'd you get involved in this? Because I've heard a bunch of stories how people get involved. I heard there's a sign-up sheet.
Yeah.
I heard there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff going on. I heard that it's the person, not the place.
Yeah.
So many jokes here. I
So
would say Alec Price's name, but I am not
yeah.
Sydney Carmella, so I will leave that. I do not have diamond hands either. I just want to make
Oh
that
yes.
clear as well. I'm a fan, clearly,
Love
of
it.
this
I love
entire
it.
promotion
I
right now.
love
I
it.
love it.
So how I got in was a little bit different. I just so happened to live 5 minutes from White Eagle. So I did
So you just
last
showed
season.
up. You're like, I'm gonna wrestle tonight. You
No,
just
they
show
they
up
found
like,
out. No, they found out. I wrestled a guy named Ken Broadway on Uncharted Territory right
oh, that
before
guy.
Wrestling
Oh,
Open.
that guy. Oh, we
Yeah,
can't talk about him.
yeah,
God,
yeah,
so bad, isn't
yeah.
he?
That guy, that guy. But
I like Ken Broadway.
but beating his ass got me got me a spot. So they had Uncharted Territory, which is like their Beyond weekly. It was for Beyond, weekly thing. Uh, I did a pre-show, and they love what I do, and I appreciate them for bringing me in. And then they were like, "Oh, well, in a couple weeks, we're gonna bring in this thing called Wrestling Open." I was like, "Oh, that sounds like a good idea." It's cheaper on the business. It's a nice local town. Look for a platform. Cool. And then they were just like, "Hey, are you available?" And I was like, "Yeah, I live 5 minutes from y'all. Go right ahead." I walked in, and there was a lot of those same guys, like from the road, from XWA, Rhode Island, stuff like that. And it was kind of the same concept as the road almost. So we go in, and White Eagle is it's a bar. So there's a bar downstairs, and then Wrestling Open is upstairs in the facility. And I go in, and there's like, "Hey, you got this 5 minute match against a guy named Ray Jazz." And I was like, "Okay, all right, I know him from Jersey, whatever." And then I go, and I got the one of the best ovations I've ever got from a crowd. So and then they telling me, "Please come back, please come back." I haven't left since. So the
Well,
crowd kind of,
let's talk about some of this, but
yeah,
I just want to talk about that Ray Jazz match.
yeah,
Ray Jazz is a douchebag, not
yes,
as a
big,
person, as a wrestler.
both.
No. He is MJF reincarnated.
Yeah.
Undeniably, that guy is so fucking damn good. And
Yeah,
it's stupid good. And
it's
it's just
effortless.
like, all I want to do is I will happily pay him to be on my show. Like, I want to
Yeah.
interview him so freaking badly because I know the guy is gold. I know the guy is
Yeah,
money. That's
yeah,
the only thing I know about him is that I know he's money. And,
yes.
and, and where he is the guy to get on your show because that guy is superstar incarnated. By
Hmm.
definition, is at his infancy in his career, and he's about to become bigger than ever. But
Yeah.
what was that match like? Because that's insane. The styles clash, the size
Hmm.
clashes,
Yep.
everything was like opposing, and big guy versus small guy,
Hmm.
everything.
So having a match with Ray Jazz is um, again, styles make fights. You got the NCAA, collegiate wrestler, and then you got this gritty professional wrestler who likes to throw hands and fight and is athletic, big stuff like that, right? So it was very intriguing. It was one of those challenges that I like to just step in, and we didn't have the greatest of times because what Wrestling Open does, we cracked the code on attention span and what how long and how short things should be. So we go in on my first match there, and nobody really kind of knows who I am. Some people know me from Chaotic, and Limitless and stuff like that. So maybe one, two people knew who I was. And then me and Ray Jazz have that match. Uh, and we do some amazing, stuff in a short amount of time, and the ovation there was amazing. And I realized that a guy like Ray Jazz was going to be something special as well. But the atmosphere of the White Eagle, and that's why we say world famous, because you go there, you're at a wrestling event, you're going to be at a good wrestling event too. So, the atmosphere of the people, they just welcomed me with open arms, and I included Worcester, Massachusetts into my intro. So, they loved me there, and it all started with Ray Jazz.
Yeah, and even going further into that, because obviously, I mean, it was a short match, and
Mhm.
it's nice to have, a 10-minute, 15-minute match. I
Mhm.
mean, nothing against WWE. And
Mhm.
look, if you have an I Quit match, you need sometimes to have a long match.
Mhm.
But
Absolutely.
just to a point where, do we really need to have Ronda Rousey versus Liv Morgan for 30 minutes? Like, do we
Mhm.
really need, I mean, look, and I love Liv Morgan, don't get me
If the
wrong.
story's good, if the story built up is good, give them that time. If it's not, you got to make it make sense.
The way I feel is, and it's nothing against Ronda, it's nothing against Liv, but
Mhm.
that match should be 12, 15 minutes at the most, even on a
Yeah.
pay-per-view.
Mhm.
And even Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch should not be more than 20 minutes.
Yep.
And most WWE matches should not be more than that. A Survivor Series match should be maybe 35 minutes if it's five
Yeah.
versus five, so that everybody
Yep.
gets a little bit of time in there. But even
Mhm.
still, like there gets to a point where I'm like, oh man, this match has been going on forever. You
Yeah.
see it with Iron Man matches, 60-man Iron Minute matches. It's like, do we really need 60 minutes for this match?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because and sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And
Correct.
that's my whole point is that so when you have only 10 minutes, I know in 10 minutes this thing is going to be over. And so
Yep.
if the match isn't working or, nothing against somebody, but like let's say two tag teams are going at it and I don't know either one of them,
Yeah.
sometimes I'm cracking open a beer on Thursday night and
Mhm.
use that as my bathroom break.
Yeah.
To be very honest, and like
Yeah.
it's nothing against those wrestlers. It's just like I don't know either of these teams, and
Yeah.
this
Let's
match
let's
doesn't excite.
develop.
So like
Exactly.
I think it's cool though the fact that it's like cool 10 minutes, great, and then another 10 minutes we're gonna get another two wrestlers in here, and
Mhm.
first thing having like a 45-minute match, and it's like I'm not
Yeah.
really feeling the match. It
Yeah.
also eliminates all the stupid shit in the match sometimes too.
Mhm. So I'll put you on to how wrestlers think sometimes. Um, so there's some shows where there's like 11, 12 matches or something like that. And they all have, 12-minute limits, 15-minute limits, stuff like that. And then you realize the show just drags and it's 3 hours in and we didn't even get to the main event yet. And with Wrestling Open, with those set time limits and the main event getting 20 minutes instead of 10, you know that main event is going to be good. You know that you can look up new wrestlers every week because of the open how open works. Um, and it's not going to overstay its welcome, you know. And we can go in, do what we got to do. And for a guy like me who's on almost every Thursday, I could work on something. I could do something this week that I didn't do last week, and the tape is still going to be the same. And you can actually see the growth and development of the people on the roster because of it. You know what I mean? You can't just do all your moves in one match because you got 15 minutes to do so. If you're able to get 15 minutes, 15 or 20 minutes on Wrestling Open, that match got to be good. That match got to be good, especially if we're ending the show with that. That match has to be good. So we kind of understood how Wrestling Open works when it comes to times and as compared to other shows. So we can still have 9 to 12 matches, and it starts at 8 with the spotlight being a 7:45 spotlight match, and we ended the doors at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, 10:15. You already know the show's almost over. You know what I'm saying? So having that structure helped all of us, especially because it's in Massachusetts. A lot of those guys are New Yorkers in New Jersey, and on a Thursday, people got jobs as well, so it gives them a little bit of time to go back home and stuff like that. We're not ending the show at 12 o'clock on a Saturday because we decided to go 3 hours for shenanigans. So it's very organized place.
Yeah, it's also the idea that, what is the way I feel is that I know nothing is, going to drag on forever. And I know that
Hmm.
20 minutes because I was interviewing somebody, and one of the, somebody that was a college professor was the former president of DC Comics, Paul
Hmm.
Levitz. And really cool professor, got to interview him a while back as well. And one of the cool things is that the average attention, thing is about 7 seconds in a movie.
Yeah.
And so I feel like with Wrestling Open, and look, it took me a little while to get it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I took a vacation from wrestling. There was a bunch of
Hmm.
stuff that happened with other fans attacking me. It was very unpleasant. So
Hmm.
I took some time off from wrestling. But I've come back into it the last few months. And it took me a while to get up to speed saying, okay, we're doing 10 minutes. These matches are quicker paced. And we're really trying to hit, this niche of showing
Yeah.
new wrestlers with some veterans, with some New England stables, and then bringing in new talent. And on top of the fact that we're not trying to bore our audience. Like
Yeah.
sometimes, nothing against Beyond, but Uncharted Territories, some episodes were not as hyped as other episodes when they were doing Uncharted Territory in seasons
Hmm.
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And there was sometimes it felt like it was dragging on forever in
Hmm.
some circumstances. Like Wrestling Open doesn't feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's maybe a match doesn't hit. I feel, or maybe a match is a cooler match, but I don't feel like the show is a cooler show.
Yeah. Yeah. The show doesn't suffer if a little section doesn't go off. If a match outstays its welcome, it could derail the whole show, especially if they don't have a time limit to like say, hey, this match is done regardless of where you're at in it. So yeah, I completely understand that.
And then even talking about some of the other opponents, obviously Alec Price was crazy. Ricky Shane
Yes.
Page, RSP.
Yes.
You know,
RSP
you know,
baby.
the Brad Hollister match wasn't on Wrestling Open, but I think it was at one of these shows
Hmm.
that was a pay-per-view, which I don't know the
Yeah.
rules that follows.
It's the same. Stipulation matches don't have a limit. So if it's like a big blow off or a big stipulation, like we had Fall Count Anywhere, we didn't have the time limit.
Because that was fun. And then there was
Yeah.
the Open Door War, and
Yep.
my boy Gary J was in that match. And
Oh,
Gary's been on
love him.
5 times Gary J.
Love him. Love him so much. Love him so much, man. He's one of those. I met him that day, and like he was one of those guys to where you can listen to him and like really understand wrestling from a grizzled vet like Gary J. So like he's amazing.
He chops hard. He
Yes,
is a beast.
yes.
He's one of the pillars, I think, of St. Louis. I think it's
Hmm.
him, Warhorse, and then
Hmm.
the shoot. It's wow, I can't even think. It's Matt Fitchin and Davey Vega, I want to say,
Hmm.
or St.
Okay,
Louis. And St. Louis is very cool. It's a special place. That promotion, Anarchy, for me.
okay.
Like
So like I need to look up St. Louis. So like St. Louis sound popping.
St. Louis Anarchy, man. It's a
Okay.
crazy. I mean, you got Jeremy Wyatt down there.
Oh,
You got the Four Pillars. Warhorse came out of that.
yep.
It's the Warhorse Nick Gage battles. Oh my gosh,
Oh
like,
yes.
the Warhorse Gary J battles were crazy. There's been like
Yes.
9 of them with the ring hook in the mouth over the top. Oh my gosh,
He
that's a
he did
new
sound crazy.
extreme. Warhorse, in case people don't know this, Warhorse has like a scar um on it, and that's because of that fight
Ugh.
where
Oh,
where his lip like got destroyed and like it's like all stitched up and like it's intense. Like Harry Jane Wars have gone to war, no pun
oh
intended, but
man.
like
Oh man.
people don't understand how
Ooh.
good Warhorse is.
Okay. I've seen a lot of the stuff. I know how good he is, and he because he came on the East Coast for a couple of times, and I've seen some of those matches. He's fairly good, really good. I enjoy his work.
Oh, he's great. And
Yeah.
then obviously Marcus Mathers is another
Oh
one.
yes. Young kid. Oh, young kid, young prodigy right there. Had to show him up a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. Had to. Funny enough, his trainer is Matt Tremont. His trainer is Matt Tremont, so he has some Tremont's like grit and toughness in him, and we had a show that following week where he was in that same locker room and Matt Tremont was there, and he's just like, thank you for having that match with him. Thank you for slowing this wily kid down and beating his ass like he should have. I was like, first of all, I didn't think he watched it, but but he, you never know who's watching. That's why the platforms are so amazing. But having a kid like that, he's so young, he's so talented, he's so good. We talk all the time, and he's one of the people that I'm rooting for. I'm so rooting for that kid, and I wish nothing but the best for Marcus Mathers.
Yeah, he's gonna be something, and
Absolutely.
he's good. It's gonna be interesting what happens. What is it
Mhm.
this weekend? No,
Yeah.
not this weekend. Is it this weekend?
Yep. It's a Saturday.
Yeah. And then there isn't
Hmm.
Halloween Havoc on like at 8 o'clock
Hmm.
NXT. It's gonna be great. What is it? It's Beyond / Wrestling Open. Then it's
Yeah.
our H2O show.
No, it's at H2O. We have Wrestling Open. We're doing a doubleheader Wrestling Open at 3, and then Paradigm at 7-8. Uh, Paradigm is going to be in that building. H2O has a amazing facility, and to be working in it is going to be amazing. We have the first half, and Paradigm has the second.
It's gonna be a crazy show. I'm probably gonna
Oh
watch
yeah,
definitely. I might watch the Wrestling Open. I don't know if I'm gonna watch the Paradigm because I do want to watch Halloween Havoc and
yeah.
Cora
Hey,
Jade's wrestling.
IWTV. You can always watch it back. It's on IWTV. You can always
I'm
watch that stuff
sorry,
back.
Cora Jade, who's Elena Black, straight out
Yes.
of the Indies.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God, yeah, I'm still pissed about this. I was supposed to interview Priscilla Kelly
Yeah.
last year, and she had a
Unfortunately,
family
got signed.
emergency.
Yeah,
3 weeks
shit.
later, she gets fucking started. So angry. I'm just so
Yeah.
angry about it. That was the email and everything, and it's like, oh,
Uh-huh.
this was an opportunity, and like,
Yeah.
but like, I get it. It's not a big deal. If I have a long interview career ahead of me, a
Yeah.
bunch of these people are going to come in and out. If I could
Yeah.
get Chris Daniels on my show, I think I'm going to do just fine. But
Oh, I would love
anyway,
that. Yeah.
going back to this because I do want to talk about the Stenson Ranch,
Yes.
and there's some serious
Yes.
issues here. There's some serious
Uh-huh.
issues.
Yes.
Obviously, you got some issues with Steve, the head of the family, for lack of a better
Mm-hmm.
word. You got some issues with Danny Miles. At
Yep.
least Bobby Orlando picked the right side this time.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the GOAT of all time.
Yeah.
Bryce
Shema.
Donovan is coming on to talk about One Piece Red after, so
Yeah.
that's gonna be fun after like November 3rd. So
Yeah.
that's gonna be super fun. But
One
yeah,
lung danger, man. One lung danger. So like the Stetson range. So Steve Stetson got paid off by Brad Hollister to interfere in my last man stand not last man stand match, false count anywhere match. And so I believe this in and out of the ring. If you cheat death, the debt is doubled. So now, not only Brad Hollister has got out of his debt, but now Stetson owes twice as much. So now I always say the Reaper's coming, which means the body has been requested, which means I have to take out Stetson. But he has so many pillars in front of him that I have to knock him down before I get to him. So if he keeps ducking, he's just going to cause more casualties. You know how you see how that works. So he just keeps going on casualties, and just so happens that this weekend I have three more requests from the Reaper in domes and main event. So, those guys have been running through Havoc and stuff like that because
We're going to talk about that too in 1 second. But
Wrestling Open is my home, and guys like Steven Stetson and Pedro Dones and those guys like that. You got to clean up the act.
we're gonna talk about that, but I do want to talk about that BRG match.
Yes,
because BRG's got some serious balls on him. He's got
yes,
some serious balls on him while he rides on a fake horse. He's got some serious balls on him.
Clip clop. Yes, yes.
Well, so let's actually talk about this because one of the things is that you obviously called out, Steve, and then BRG stood up and said, "I'm sick and tired of people thinking I'm a joke here." And I'm going to be very honest. I actually thought that was a great promo by him, and I thought it was true because it was real.
Yeah.
For the first time in a while, I think he said something that wasn't cocky, wasn't him being an asshole, wasn't him being whatever. And at some point, I'm sure that he's going to come on this show, BRG.
Yes.
We're going to talk about it. But I was like, damn, he's got. And I don't know if you saw the tweet, but I'm like, oh my god, he's got balls on him, and he's going to bring a fight. And this is going to be a fight. And I was like, yo, you better watch out because he might pull a W on you.
Yeah.
But what was this like? Because when you have something like that, I mean, I think the crowd was like saying, holy shit, this is I don't think the crowd was expecting that promo.
No.
I don't think the crowd was even against him on that either. I don't think they wanted to root for him, but they weren't against him. And what was that? That was a big pop in so many. It was a big pop on Twitter too.
So, BRG has been talented for a very long time. He's one of those people I met in the road, but he knows he's good, and then he coasts a lot, and then especially when he got to Wrestling Open, decided to go to Stetson Ranch and become the complete opposite of what a cowboy is, and he's coming from high praise, high class. Going to think what a cowboy is. When the city folk go into the country and they get every stereotypical thing out there. They buy some spurs and buy some things, some boots. They don't want to get it dirty though. And then you got Clip Clop. And he came to me. He knows that I'm gunning for his boss. But he knows his boss is gonna run, so he came up and stepped in the face of death and poked him in his chest, which I give him respect for. The crowd knows what I've done and what I continue to do to people, and for him to step to me like that, is something you've got to respect, regardless of what the result is. And that's something that caught my attention. What I don't like empty fights. You better fight me with a purpose, or else I'll make you purposeless. So he came to me with a purpose, and which I thought this will be good. This will be good, not only for him but for me, to make sure that I don't overlook something because I'm on a mission. I'm not going to overlook somebody like BRG because he's super talented, because that could have ended in a loss. But BRG is super talented, and so I had to let him know that I am talented as well. And you see the result of that match.
I unfortunately did not get to see it live. I was dealing with getting a new Mac instead. I watched it on
IWTV, baby. Yeah.
I watched it on replay the next day. I figured every once in a while I get a pass. I thought it was a great match. I really did. Yes. I thought it was a great match with you on your side. I thought it was an even better match on his side, to be honest. And I thought that he pulled something out of his ass, and it was pure talent. And again, it felt real. It felt real. And that's the thing, is that I'm like, oh, okay, he really has something to prove, and he's trying to gain respect. And I think that a lot of people got respect for him. I really do.
Yeah,
It's what he does next is what matters.
yeah.
And what I'm hoping for is, I'm hoping he gets sick of his boss. That's what I'm hoping for. And
I hope so too.
I would like to see that. I would like to see that fight. I would like to see it. I would like to see something at one of these stipulation matches, like a cowboy death match between the two of them. I think it would be fantastic. I think it would be so rewarding. Win, lose.
Unfortunately, that won't happen because once I get my hands on Stetson, there will be no Stetson.
Yeah.
So it's like Harry Potter when you
Steve
give,
will only remain.
you know what I'm saying? It's like with Harry Potter when you give Dobby some clothes and he's free. You know what I'm saying? That's what I plan on doing when I relieve him of his boss, and which in tune relieve him of his clip clop duties. So unfortunately that won't happen. But hopefully whatever he does next will prosper because he's a extremely talented individual. BRG.
Whoa. But what I want and what you want are clearly in a different zone, because I really just want to see this cowboy death match. I think it'll be great if he comes out on a real horse. It would be hilarious in so many ways. Ricky Pickard does that, where he rides on a real horse out to the ring in H2O.
We can pull it off. We can pull it off. Knowing Drew, the promoter, we can pull it off. I know he can pull off a horse. We wrestled in on beachside. You know what I mean? People wrestled in the ocean. So like beyond wrestling open, we'll definitely pull something like that off. So you can put it on your wish list, and hopefully I'll leave some of Steven Stetson for BRG.
I think it'll be hilarious. BRG on a horse. Come on. You now want to see this. You're going to just leave
Absolutely.
like 2% left to see this. I'm telling you. I'm going to just take over a match for Beyond. Just hoping wrestling. I'll take over this one. I'll book it.
There you go.
I'll get all
there
the
you go. Sponsor it, baby. Sponsor it. Tell Drew what you want. Tell the promoter what you want.
I want BRG on a horse. That's what I want.
BRG on a horse. That's it.
it'll be fantastic.
Tweet it and tag Beyond. Tweet it and tag Beyond. I want BRG on a horse.
That's all I want.
Horse. That's it.
Just give me a Christmas gift, guys. That's all I want. I want BRG on a horse. That's it. That's it.
Absolutely.
That's all we need. That's all we need. But all jokes aside,
yes.
Obviously, what's going on this weekend? Because you got a pretty interesting match with the main event. Yes. Pedro, Drones, and Dones, and everything he's doing. And I gotta say, I'm a fan of heel main event. I really am. I'm a big fan of them. I think it was necessary. I think they were getting stale, and I like them. I like them as bad guys. And as he was booing, I was kind of cheering. I kind of like it. I think it was great.
I agree. Unfortunately, he's gonna run into a brick wall of Prolific. This will be we're in H2O building. We're in Jersey. My boys, all they have to do is pay the toll to get from New York to Jersey. We in there, and now, not only as one of the most dominant forces in wrestling open is going to face off against Pedro Dones, the shot caller. Prolific is going to be by my side. My boys, my brethren, are going to be by my side to take on Pedro Dones in main event, which will be which main event is not unfamiliar with Prolific. My two guys have wrestled those two guys. And Dones came out of Johnny Rod's. He was one of the first people who helped me bump. So I've known Pedro Dones for a long time. And so I know these people, and I know it's going to be one of these gang wars, these shootouts, one of these gritty multi-man classics that we're going to put on. But we're going to stop the shot callers shenanigans on Saturday, H2O.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be a good one, everybody. It's going to be.
Oh, yes.
But I don't want to keep going with this. I want to back out of everything. We covered a lot of stuff. I know I didn't cover like 80% of your career, which is crazy. This is how this show works now. It's
Hey, man.
we deal with little things now, little
Mm-hmm.
things.
Yes.
But I think the last 2 years has been a very interesting time, and I
Yes.
think that COVID has changed a lot of stuff. It's going to sound
Absolutely.
messed up what I'm going to say, but COVID has made it better for me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Personal life, work
Mm-hmm.
wise,
Yeah.
other things, just interview wise. I was doing
Yeah.
40 a year. Now I do anywhere from 120 to 200 a year, which is a
Nice.
big jump across
Absolutely.
multiple
That's great.
spectrums. And also doing it live is faster. People get to see it, more exposure,
Mm-hmm.
all sorts of stuff. I at least am trying to help out people to some
Love it.
degree because everybody needs media, whether they want to admit it or not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You
All
can't run away from it.
media, too.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as bad media. There's no such thing
No,
as bad.
unfortunately. Unfortunately, it's not.
Maybe there should be, but I don't know. But I am curious how you view Wrestling Open and in particular IWTV, because me and AJ Alexander were talking about this, where the idea is that before, I think wrestlers didn't need to have Twitter, didn't need to be active, and
No.
before it was pre-taped and maybe came out on DVD, or
Mm-hmm.
even the idea of GCW, while it's streamed, you have to pay for it. While I think IWTV actually has a better model for wrestlers,
Yes.
because being seen every week or being seen on a stream or on a premiere,
Yeah.
that exposure I think is worth way more, even if you
Mm-hmm.
might make more money at GCW,
Yeah.
because they have a paywall behind it and it's like $14 per event and they're good wrestling. But I
Yeah.
think that with IWTV, it's $100 a year that,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm curious how you feel about that, where clearly I think wrestlers now need to be streamed. And if you're a B card WWE guy or a B card AEW guy and you're not getting much airtime, it almost might make sense for you to go back onto the indies and be on a bunch of these shows where
Yep.
you're on 3 or 4 streams a week, or even 2 streams a week, or even 1 stream a week. If you're on
Yeah.
Wrestling Open and then you're on 2 shows that don't get streamed that
Yeah.
week, wrestling 3 times a week, I
Mm-hmm.
think that Wrestling Open spot is worth way more because you're being seen.
Yeah.
And I'm curious how you feel about that, because I think that's something that has changed dramatically.
Yeah. Perfect example of that. That last example is Max Caster. He came in for a couple months, and he was still trying to still getting over with the Acclaim and AEW and everything like that. He came into Wrestling Open and really defined his character, his wrestling, and his overall work, and just show people that he can wrestle. He's not just a guy rapping on the mic every Wednesday and Friday. Um, so a platform like IWTV, and I'm gonna shout out all those other ones too, Title Match Wrestling, Fight TV, and stuff like that. But YouTube is still a good go-to for good wrestling. But specifically IWTV, it's a one-stop shop for independent professional wrestling. Whether you're a scout, whether you love wrestling, whether you want to follow someone in particular, you can just type their name in. You got all their matches, all the shows they're on, and all the matches just pop up for them. And it's a great way to have a good catalog as well as a um, good outlet for people to watch your stuff. People still do this, but people go on YouTube. People have a YouTube page and will like edit their match, put it on there for kind of a portfolio. When and then but people have to like kind of get that from you or go on YouTube slash whatever. When somebody may have IWTV. It's like, oh, how's this Tyree Taylor guy? They type my name on the thing. They can pick up any match they want to see. And that right there is how, shows get better, promoters, get better with scouting and stuff like that. Those shows are always top notch because not everybody can get on IWTV. Not everybody can get on IWTV. So, those shows are going to be somewhat good. And once you see that logo, once you see that platform up, you're gonna get some good wrestling. So IWTV is like Like I will do IWTV shows free. Like it's so valuable. And at the bottom line, when it comes to your brand and your professional wrestling career, you want your information, you want your matches on there, and you want them to be good. you know.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I think
having wrestling,
it's the idea that I think wrestlers need to be seen. And,
yes.
and I hate to use it this way because it's going to take it out of context, but
Mhm.
wrestlers need to be seen, not necessarily heard. And what I
Yeah,
mean by that,
I agree.
I don't need you to tweet out 5,000 things on Twitter. I need to see you
Mhm.
on IWTV or
Yep.
Fight TV or
Hmm.
Title Network, but I feel like I
Yeah.
need to see you on IWTV because
Yep.
whenever you hear IWTV, I know that
Some
it's
rings in your head. Yeah.
I know what's on IWTV. Now I don't know
Hmm.
everything, and I
Hmm.
only watch Wrestling Open right now because my schedule is crazy.
Hmm.
But I watch one or two shows every week that's wrestling
Yeah.
on
Hmm.
IWTV, and I'm missing a boatload of stuff. But I know that Wrestling Open is going to be good.
Yeah.
Some episodes are great, but I know it's always going to be good. I know
Yeah.
what I'm getting. It's kind
Yeah.
of like when I turn on an episode of Dragon Ball Z, I
Hmm.
know what I'm getting. It's
Yeah.
going to be Dragon Ball Z. It has a certain
Yeah.
standard. Whether the
Hmm.
episode is a filler episode of Goku and Piccolo learning how to drive or they're
Yeah.
defeating Cell, I know it has a certain standard of animation.
Yep.
And that's how I
Hmm.
feel about IWTV. And I think that wrestlers need to be seen, not heard. I don't really care what your Twitter opinion is. I don't
Hmm.
care if you're tweeting out about your matches. I want to see you on an IWTV show.
Yep. And I preach that enough because especially Wrestling Open that we go at it every Thursday forever. That's the slogan. That's a way of life. Every Thursday forever. So like a guy like me who was on first episode 5 and then now it's episode 40, 41 coming up. I have at least 15 matches on there that I can send to any promoter anytime or anybody can look at anytime whether and you just see how I develop from there. And 15 matches is a lot of matches to have on the platform for most people. So to have that in just Wrestling Open and have good sample sizes of what someone can do, Wrestling Open has really cracked the code on that, especially having IWTV back us up like they do. So that platform is just as important as you said.
I mean, let's be realistic here. WWE just went through some major changes. I think it's
Yep,
safe to say that, and that's the nice way
absolutely.
to put it.
Yes,
I'm being polite here when I say that. And
I get you.
I'm a stockholder of that company, and I'm probably going to add
Uh,
more to my position on it
yeah.
because I think it's a great company. I think they're brilliant,
Hmm.
and I think those changes are good. But I think Beyond and / Wrestling Open has been a pull spot from WWE
Yeah.
for a very long time. Um,
Hmm.
and let's face it, we all know who they're eyeing.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. Clearly, Sydney Bacabella. Clearly.
Yeah.
We all know Sydney's going. We all know. No, guys, it's Alec Price. I want to make that crystal clear.
Protect that man at all costs.
Which one,
Protect that
Alec
man
Price
at
or
all
Sydney Bacabella? Because
City Bacabella. Protect that man at all
we could
costs.
lose Alec. We could lose Alec completely. It's not a big deal.
Alec is going to get his, but protect Bacabella at all costs.
But anyway, it's Alec Price for those who
Yeah.
don't know. But we know that it's a pull spot. I mean, there's no question about it. We know Hunter's looking at it. We know that top WWE brass is looking at IWTV. There's no question that they're not. Whether they admit it or they don't, they are because it's such a good place and there's so much talent now that there's a war coming between AEW, WWE, whether they want to admit it or not. Again, they're going to both be poaching talent from each other, and they're both going to be poaching talent from the indies.
Yep.
And it's coming. And I'm sorry to say it that way.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that's another thing why I think wrestlers need to be on those platforms because guess what? You might have 5 matches, and somebody might be like, "That's exactly what I need in NXT."
Yeah.
Or
that
EW Dark.
So that right there is also why IWTV is important because a couple years ago, especially those guys, WWE and AEW, they weren't looking at independent talent. If AEW was looking for independent talent, they already got it. You know what I'm saying? They already got, and WWE were looking for more people that they can home grow themselves, and whether it be from track and field or Olympic style wrestling or anything like that, they weren't looking for independent guys. And now that the indies are in play again, you're gonna want to have that portfolio on IWTV or anywhere even close to IWTV. But for people like Alec Price to stand out in a land full of in a waters full of sharks that are hungry. That kid right there is gonna do amazing things because he has grit and he will scratch and claw with the rest of them.
I make the joke about Alec Price. I mean, I said the guy who should dethrone Roman is Alec Price. No. You laugh at it,
Yeah.
but seriously, if you want the most insane pop, it's not Braun Breaker. It's
Mm,
not. You should bring in somebody who is not WWE, who is coming out of the woodwork, who has been gritting on the indies, and you will get your greatest pop and you will get your Cinderella story, and that story will write itself because you brought in somebody who nobody expected, and all of a sudden, I'll tell you the story. You
yeah.
saw Alec Price. Alec Price is number 30, wins the Royal Rumble, challenges Roman, beats Roman clean at WrestleMania in a crazy match.
Mm,
And everybody's like, who the fuck is Alec Price? And
yeah.
I guarantee you will have the greatest pop because it will spread so quickly who Alec Price is,
hmm
building up to that it will be insane. And it will
The
be
first thing the first thing they're going to do is a lot of people and go in that scenario you just put. The first thing they're going to do is go on IWTV and check out who the Alec Price is. The second thing they're going to do is Google Alec Price to see who the hell Alec Price is. And they're going to and Alec Price is so professional wrestling sometimes just caters to professional wrestling fans. But WWE, and especially you being a shareholder, we like to call those people normies. They bring in the regular people, the regular people who are not, wrestling
right.
fans, but they came in for a good time and stuff
The,
like that.
the reason why, no, I thought this one through though. The reason why is that they don't have an answer at this
Yeah.
point for Roman. So you have to go outside of WWE to find your answer. And
hmm
you have to go to the indies and you have to create what the fuck just happened moment. Because the
Yeah.
whole point of that is you're trying to draw attention of saying
Mhm.
what just happened,
Yeah.
what's
It's
going on.
Jinder Mahal all over again.
And so that's the whole point of what this does.
hmm
So as a shareholder, and this is just is how I think, what that's going to do is that's going to spike interest
Yeah.
because that's the whole thing is that you're creating a drive and you're creating an interest and you're creating question marks.
hmm
And now you're creating saying, have they lost it?
Yeah.
Or are they doing something and making a hard left pivot and clearly signaling that we don't have an answer to said problem and we're going to shift things up and we're creating chaos and anything
hmm
can happen here. And so, as a shareholder and as somebody who understands wrestling, I want
hmm
to create chaos in that company. Because
Yeah.
the second you create chaos in that company, not anarchy, there's a difference between the two.
Yeah. hmm
Chaos is controlled. Anarchy
Yeah.
is when things burning down and you have people walking around in their underwear
Yeah.
in Target at
It's
3 in the morning.
it's
That's
ju- it's just
anarchy.
like it's just like Maven eliminating the Undertaker in the Royal Rumble. It's something like that. It's Zach Gowen beating somebody with one leg. It's certain shit like that that's gonna Brock Lesnar beating the unbeatable Undertaker at WrestleMania. You know what I mean? So it's one of those moments to where like you can get media coverage, you can get everything like that from a simple kid from Boston, Mass, to dethrone one of the biggest things on the planet right now, and as far out as it sounds, is it's the payoff would sound amazing. To be honest, yeah, the payoff would sound amazing.
and we all know he's going, and there's no
hmm
question. I mean, Alec has been on obviously this show, and it was a great interview. I don't think AEW is right for him. I don't. I think the money is not going to be what it is in WWE. I think him going to WWE is the best thing. And I think he'll thrive there. And I just think that, that's just my opinion. I don't think he should be in AEW. I don't think the leadership for Alec Price is in AEW. I think the leadership for Alec is in WWE. I think NXT would give him good guidance. And I think that when he comes up to the main roster, which should be relatively quickly, he will get good guidance too on the main roster. And I don't think that AEW has that talent to handle somebody who is so gifted like Alec Price.
The hardest thing for professional wrestlers is going from that indie mindset to the professional TV wrestling mindset. And I thank Booker for that, for teaching me that. Because like it's a different world to have personality through your body language, to have some sort of personality when the camera's looking at you and that dot behind it is red. And like what do you do behind that? There are some things that in that aspect WWE does better. And if you put him there, he would thrive. But he has to be a sponge to learn all that good stuff to be as well rounded as him, because he can have a 30-minute, 40-minute barn burner with the rest of them. But can he entertain the people while he's not doing that? That's where being a sponge in that environment will do for you.
Yeah, no. I think. I mean, I say it every single Thursday. Every single Thursday, I said it during Uncharted Territory. I said it during Limitless. I said, you're all booing him, but you will miss him when he's gone. We will miss him when he gets signed. We will miss him.
Yep. Carmelo Hayes was one of them. Carmelo Hayes, was one of them. Yep.
Very much so. Christian Casanova,
Cass, yep.
I mean, he's one of them, man, and that's another one. Club Cam, Bobby Orlando. That's another one. If Bobby gets signed, Bryce Donovan gets signed. These people, if that's what happens. So that's all I'm gonna say is that at this point, boo Alec Price all you want, but we will miss him when he gets signed, and we will all be unhappy.
That's big shoes to fill in New England. Big shoes to fill in New England once he signs paperwork.
I mean, Carmelo Hayes was big shoes to fill too.
Absolutely, and Alec Price stepped right in those.
Yep, it's crazy. I mean, what was it? AG, and
AG was one of those too. Yeah,
it was AG. Who else? Josh Briggs.
Yep, AG, Josh Briggs. It was those three. Yeah,
and then who else? And then what was it? Daniel Garcia.
Oh yes, Daniel. Yep, absolutely, Daniel Garcia. He got picked up. We knew he was going to get picked up too.
Who got picked up too?
Daniel Garcia. I knew he was going to be picked up. Absolutely, he's too good.
Did Kevin Blackwood get picked up yet, or no?
No, he's I believe he's on the West Coast doing his thing over there. He's over on the West Coast, really killing it, and stuff like that. Robert Martyr is another one of those guys.
Did Willow get picked up yet?
She should. If not, she should. There should be paperwork in her name that she should be writing some cursive on. Like she's amazing as well. Rex Lawless is one right behind her. There's people prime for those positions. So one of those things are almost inevitable.
I make the argument that I would love to see Solo if Solo comes back.
Mm-hmm.
She should be picked up too, no doubt about it. Really talented, and then a guy like Effie needs to be picked up. But I don't know if Effie wants to be picked up because Effie's making bank and he's doing what to do and he's having a blast.
Effie is one of those things, one of those people that are ahead of his time, that won't work currently, but will work in maybe a few years. But what he's doing now is like amazing. You know how those amazing artists are like underground and stuff like that. They're super huge and stuff like that. But you need to write something to really skyrocket in the mainstream.
I'm
Like
very
Effie's
much
one of those.
well aware. Effie was on my other show
Yeah.
before he blew up, and
Hmm.
I saw it from a mile out. I said, "This guy
Hmm.
is something else," and whether people get it or they don't, this guy is something else. And
Effie's ahead of his time.
and,
Effie's
and
ahead of his time.
I,
He's
I thought
revolutionary in wrestling.
I thought Effie was right in his time. I don't
Hmm.
know if Effie's ahead of his time. I think he's right in
No.
his time and
E-
ahead of his time too. At the same time,
Effie as a whole, the whole persona, it's not even a gimmick, it's him. His whole persona, like Effie is ahead of his time. He is a trailblazer. Like Effie is one of those people who are going to, like, how do I explain this? Effie's going to be one of those people who like started the style, but probably won't get the recognition for the style when it's popular. Like he'll be one of the he'll be one of the fathers of the style, just like people like SAT, are grandfathers to the style that we have professional wrestling today. And those guys were ahead of the time. People like Amazing Red were like ahead of his time. Same idea. Effie's going to be one of those people.
all I know is that Effie is making bank right now. He's
I hope so. Power to him. Power
and
to him.
and I'm looking forward to his Blues Clues match because I think that thing is going to be hilarious. So I don't know if you heard about this. You got to hear about this. This is brilliant. This is brilliant.
Mhm.
So you know how in a ladder match you have to climb up the ladder to get the belt.
Mhm.
The belt is hidden. So far we're already off to a great start, aren't we?
What?
But now there are clues throughout the entire arena that you have to find to figure out where the belt is. And then once you get that, you basically have to run and find the belt, but you have to wrestle to get there. I think it's brilliant. I mean, I'm totally down for this because
Oh man. Oh
as somebody with
man.
a physical disability, I can actually compete in this match because it actually requires thinking first and foremost.
Yes, this would be more of like oh my god. And during the pandemic, oh my god, pre-tapes for those would have been crazy.
This is
I
how
want to see with live people. I want to see something like that with people around. I would love to see that.
see. This is like the Money in the Bank ladder match.
Oh yes,
Just
at the headquarters.
at the headquarters, just done so much better. And you should have just done it this way. They should have just.
I mean, that was a brilliant idea. That headquarters is massive, but you got to go to the roof to get there. Like that was a brilliant idea. Like to have Blues Clues match. Oh, that.
That Money in the Bank match though was great. How they went into Vince's office, how Stephanie was involved in that match. That was great. That was brilliant.
Oh, that's production at its highest. Production at its highest, man.
WWE has so many creative ideas, and I can't wait for this new era. And you know what is? I want to bring cinematic matches back. I don't care if there's a pandemic or not. Just the amount of stuff you can do with it, oh, it'd be great. But this Blues Clues match with live people, oh, it'd be great.
I'm now invested. I am now invested.
What you have to do though is you have to do it on Halloween, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what you have to do is that you have to have people like dressed like Steve and dressed like Joe in the crowd. Oh, you gotta have blue and magenta. Oh, it's great. I'm 49, so I grew up watching Blues Clues. So like, oh man.
Oh, so did I. I'm 30, so I'm in that same era.
So I'm telling you, if you do it that way, and you have people with their like magic notebook documenting it, oh, it'll be so great. It'll be epic. It'll be such a sweet moment in wrestling, and it'll be so stupidly funny, right?
Oh my god, amazing! I love it. I'm sports
I'll produce this match.
You should.
Completely free. Like seriously, like I would create like a GoFundMe for this match. And everybody gets like a production credit. Oh, it'd be great. It would be perfect. It'd be the only match on the card. It'd be the only match on the card.
It should. I give it. I give it a couple matches, maybe like 4 or 5 matches, and then the intermission, and then the second half is that match.
And what you do is that you buy a bunch of magic notebooks. So everybody who buys a ticket gets a magic notebook with like the crayon. Oh, it would
Yeah,
so just the amount of people
probably
who
get copyright infringement.
I don't even care.
Probably get a cease and desist because it's so good.
Oh, and then you hang it up on your wall. Like I'll put it right there. Like, oh, it'd be sick. It'd be sick. It's terrible. This is so bad. This is so bad. We're really gonna miss Alec Price, but he's gone, aren't we?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But we got to step in there.
But before I let you go, because we've been talking for a while, I am curious about one more question. It's actually a serious question. Where do you think the wrestling business is going? Because obviously, it kind of piggybacks off of that, where it's the idea that wrestling is evolving, and it's evolved in a lot of ways. A lot of things in pop culture, in my opinion, have evolved. And I think things were going to get there anyway. I think we were going to get to cinematic matches in about 8 years. I think we got there about 8 years, in 10 years. I think we're going to get them in 2030. And I think that we got there a lot quicker in 2020. And I think certain things in wrestling have obviously been sped up on the timeline. So I'm curious where you think wrestling is going and where it's, I guess, going to not necessarily evolve to, but what's the next step for it to take as a business?
So like wrestling was mainstream in the 90s and in the 2000s, early 2000s. These times is more of a niche, kind of a niche asset to like the entertainment world. Where I see it heading is we're trying to get that casual back, even the people not watching wrestling, people not watching TV as a whole, to try to get that glory back. But I don't even think they want that. I think they want to create a new path for professional wrestling because we left so much of the shenanigans behind when it comes to steroids, when it comes to abuse, when it comes to drugs and stuff like that. We kind of left all that behind. So we got to create a new kind of world for us. When it comes to like timeline, maybe about 10 years, 10, 15 years, I believe it's still going to be one of the biggest things in entertainment. I believe that a lot of the people are going to be bigger stars outside of wrestling, but because they wrestled, they're going to, they're going to be recognized. Everybody's going to be able to eat off wrestling, but the doors that are going to open from professional wrestling, as far as the wrestlers go, is going to benefit everybody as the wrestling business grows in that aspect. People have to realize that we have to look at wrestling as a whole because we're changing the culture of wrestling. And where do we want to go once that culture is changed? We have more people that are people of color. We have more people from the LGBT community. We have people who may not have that opportunity before. We have people who have been scratching and clawing for years are now finally get those opportunities, whether it be from people retiring or like people getting out from the unfortunate Me Too era, of that. So like once we establish a culture and one set culture for professional wrestling, then we'll have a clearer direction when it comes to professional wrestling. But for the near future, we're growing and plateauing up. So I have faith in professional wrestling.
Yeah, I also think that it's cool now to watch all this. And I think like a lot of people who basically in the 90s and when I was growing up, I wasn't a wrestling fan until I got into high school. And I became one. At that point, it was sort of not cool. And it was sort of not, you wouldn't get beat up, but it was frowned upon, much like anime was comics.
Yeah.
And now all the people who are into this stuff, are not me. I was in Hot Topic and a guy who looked like a quarterback was standing next to a kid who was a nerd looking at
Yeah.
Pop Funkos. And
Yeah.
that was not what my sixth grade looked like. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so I think, things have changed where the quarterback is a fan of anime and
Yeah.
wrestling, and then the nerd who's,
Everybody's wearing the titles and stuff like that.
is also the same thing, and they're
Hmm.
getting along. And it's
Yeah.
like, you're not into this stuff, you're being left
Hmm.
behind.
Yeah.
And I think it's super interesting, and it's kind of cool when
Hmm.
all this stuff's going on. And I think that WWE has done something very interesting. Logan Paul versus Roman Reigns, I think, is actually a
Yeah.
very cool thing. And I think it's evident of that,
Yeah.
where clearly Logan Paul has impulsive, and that's a
Yeah.
big,
He has a. Yeah.
and it normalizes a bunch of this stuff.
Uh-huh. Yeah, like Bad Bunny, guys like that who have a big following. They say somebody, oh, he's doing professional wrestling or something like that. And then you're not knowing that Bad Bunny delayed his tour so he could train to be a professional wrestler and be good at that. Like
So
Stephen Amell, stuff like that.
that Bad Bunny during WrestleMania weekend sold more merch than any other wrestler on that
Yep.
entire thing, which
I can imagine.
and guess what? People watched WrestleMania because of Bad
Yep.
Bunny.
Exactly.
And it was sort of John Morrison's idea,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, and it made sense. But guess what? I mean, I guarantee you, people watched The Miz versus Logan Paul. What was it, SummerSlam? Because
Yeah.
it was Logan Paul. And
Yeah.
I'm slightly 50-50 on Logan Paul. But again, Sami Zayn, Johnny Knoxville, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Holy hell.
Viewers.
Oh my God. That was great.
Oh, that match was fantastic.
Mhm.
Sami Zayn is just everything Sami touches turns to gold.
Absolutely.
Everything.
Mhm.
Wait till him and Kevin throw in the Usos. We all know
Yep.
it's going.
Mhm.
But anyway, I digress. But yeah, no, I definitely think that's where it's going, and it's going to be interesting. Hopefully, everybody's going to be able to eat off of wrestling, and
Absolutely.
I just want a small piece of that. I just want a small piece of that. I just want a
Hey,
small
doors open, man. Doors
And-
open, man.
I think a lot of podcasters are gonna be very much taken care of too. I think that's coming next. I think there's a big revolution coming for media, and I think a lot of people in independent media. You have things like the Daily Wire, the Young Turks, Sam Cedar, Crowder,
Yep.
Dave Rubin, Joe Rogan, all these people, and I think that they're paving a new path too, and that benefits everything as well in pop culture.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter where you stand politically. What matters is that it's being built on multiple sides that are slowly destroying CNN. Because CNN is not going to make it. I'm just saying. It's not going to make it, and it's evident that media has changed.
Media sinks. Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be very interesting, and I'm not happy with CNN about their Chris Benoit coverage.
That's a whole nother podcast. I have my opinions, but again, brand.
Hey. All I'm going to say about Chris Benoit is the following: is that I thought Dark Side of the Ring did a very good job with it. And
I think so too. That's a very good show. Very good show.
Some of it was really well done. Some episodes, like the Chris Cordino, I want to say, or is that how
it Candino? Yeah.
Candino. I'm sorry. Name slipped. I thought that episode was fantastic. I thought, there's a few other episodes that I thought were great.
New Jack was my favorite.
New Jack was great.
New Jack.
I thought the Plane Ride from Hell was a great episode.
Man.
How did that happen is my only question, and we're not going to answer that question. We're just going to nod our head.
I mean, I can imagine. I have this joke. It's like I only got into professional wrestling for the road trips. So shenanigans always happens like that. It's how you control yourself as a individual, how you get through those things. But we can imagine how that stuff happens. So.
There's certain things with Terry Funk that are really, really funny that are shenanigans. But again,
Man,
brand is the key. I don't have a brand. I can't get canceled. At this point, I can't get canceled because I'm self-funded. I run my show however I want to, but I understand that you have a brand. And unfortunately, I hate to break this to you, but after almost 2.5 hours, I just ruined all of it.
People know me.
But anyway, I'm sure that I'm going to get at least some opinion out of you when we're off the air. But about everything. But I do want to give you a chance to self-promote because obviously you got a lot of stuff going on. You're busy. Obviously, this Saturday I'm going to be watching, tweeting. I'm going to have a good time on IWTV. Remember, we are out to protect Sydney Bacabella at all costs.
Yeah.
That is the official stance here. That is the official stance.
Of course. Of course. So I'm an open book when it comes to social media. T_Taylor347. You can catch that on my Instagram, my TikTok, my Twitter. Tyree Detailer on Facebook. I have Wrestling Open on this Saturday. And then later that night is going to be Pro Wrestling Magic in Jersey as well. So, I'm double shotting that day. Me and the Prolific boys, we're going to be doing that as well. Prolific BQE on Instagram as well. DMs are open if you have questions. Merch coming soon. I got my logo coming up, and whatever y'all want to ask, I'm available.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna keep saying it. You have to support indie. What that means is you have to buy people's merch. You have to go to shows. You gotta follow them on social media.
That's right.
You actually have to tweet at them. You got to like what they're saying.
Yeah.
Whether you agree or disagree. If you're rooting for the bad guys, you can say, "Man, he really cheated in that match." But again, you're engaging. Is my point. And so that's very important. I tweet out at wrestlers all the time during Wrestling Open, and guess what? I appreciate when they actually like the tweet. They retweet. They say, "No shit, Sherlock. I appreciate it." Has sent me that. I thought that was pretty funny, and then I thought it was hilarious. But again, it's engaging, and I thoroughly enjoy when wrestlers engage.
And that's free. So people are not pressured. Even though we want you to buy a shirt, we want you to buy our merchandise. Engaging and following our careers and talking about us and telling other people, hey, we're going to be here, coming to the shows and stuff like that. Some of those things don't cost a dime. So invest your time, invest your caring, your giving, and everything like that to people who you want to see succeed.
It's easy. So I think today I was scrolling through Twitter on my lunch break, right? Mm-hmm. All I did is I clicked a button on Twitter that retweeted out a tweet. Now, I don't know exactly what that does and how that necessarily directly and how much that tweet is worth, to tweet it. But I have 780 followers on Twitter. What happens if that one person sees it? It's like, oh, man, now I know I'm going to go watch Wrestling Open this Saturday. Cool. Mm-hmm. Somebody who didn't know that was coming on now knows. There have been people on this show who have gotten an indie movie deal because some director saw the interview. And I bring this story up because they're spending like $150,000 to make a movie on something. And so, what is some director randomly saw something and was like, that sounds like an awesome thing. And you know what? Again, you don't know who's watching. And you don't know.
You never know. You never know.
And you don't know what something's going to lead to. I've had people come out to me at Comic-Con like, yo, I saw your podcast. And I'm like, who are you? And I'm like, that's awesome. I don't know who you are. And then we have like a 20-minute conversation. And I've had people, so I'm eating my lunch at a con. I did a panel and they're sitting down with me. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? And he's like, oh, dude, how are you? And I'm like, oh, yeah, you were from that panel. And like, we then had like an hour conversation and it was great. So the point is that You never know who's watching. But going
Never
back to what
know.
I'm going here with is you have to support people, and social
Yep.
media is free, but you
Hmm.
do need to support people financially.
Yep.
And buying a t-shirt, going to a wrestling show, picking up a ticket. If you're
Yep.
in the Massachusetts area or you're in the tri-state area or you want to spend your honeymoon going to a wrestling open show, maybe you would like to tell Rich, ahead of time. I'm just saying, or tell somebody or tweet at Beyond, hey,
Yeah.
I'm on my honeymoon. I'm at the show tonight. Heads up. You might want to do that because they might all
Absolutely.
standing
Absolutely.
ovation.
Yep. Rich will do that for you. Yep.
But don't ask Sidney Bacabella because he'll charge you for it.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
Because I said he'll charge you for it. I didn't say Beyond will. I
No,
want to
he
make
will.
that
He
clear.
will charge you for it. Yep.
He'll take it lightly. Anyway. But no, all seriousness though, you do need to support economic because at this
Yes.
point, it's not enough anymore on social media. You do need to take that extra step.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned about me, obviously, I appreciate everybody who watches this show. I appreciate people who comment. I appreciate people. Any comment is perfectly fine. Because any comment is better than no comment.
Bring it on. Yes, sir.
I also appreciate people following me on social media. Obviously, it's Pop Anime Comics is Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. YouTube is Pop Anime Comics. There's a bunch of other pages. If you're into comic books, I have Indie Comic Connect, which is a private Facebook group for comics and other pop culture stuff. And if you're somebody looking for interviews or you are an interviewer, that's the group that I created. It's free to join. The whole point there, though, is that just answer the questions. They're there for a reason.
Yeah.
Preferably because I'm looking for guests, is the main reason. So when you don't answer the questions, I don't know who you are. Also, I do have my own T-shirt right here.
Love.
On
Nice.
Redbubble. I'm making fun of Gundam, the most interesting man in the world, Fallout, Taco Bell, all the fun stuff. I haven't been issued a cease and desist yet, and if they do, I will. And I will in the settlement.
You never know who's watching.
Hey! Taco Bell fight. This is gonna end only one way, with me getting free tacos for life.
Hey, there you go.
And a breakfast sandwich maybe for life too. Every morning,
breakfast
I will
taco.
Bell
Breakfast
and
taco.
cash in on that.
Yeah.
But I will make sure that Pete Davidson is there. At least the first round. I think it'll be funny. It'll be a really funny moment. That'll be in the settlement, I promise. They're gonna make it work here. Yeah. Anyway. I'm doing stand-up this Friday, everybody. I'm just letting everybody know. In my bathroom alone.
That's the best shows.
Oh, it's great. It's great. The neighbors are not going to be happy. But anyway, all jokes aside, that is my shirt. If you would like to buy it, feel free to buy it. Everybody, you do not have to. It's on Redbubble. 16 different colors. In fact, you could put it on a mini skirt if you do. So you can get it in a mini skirt if somebody wants that too. I am an open offender. For a lot of reasons. I also have a comic book class coming out later this month. So you want to invest as a pro in comics and learn the basics. There you could go buy my class. It's going to be about $40 for about 18 to 22 hours of my time. So, you guys can all figure it out. And seriously, if you cannot afford that, we could work something out. And also there's going to be a bunch of promo codes throughout all these episodes that are going to be 25 to 35 to 50% off. So if you can't afford $40, look out for one of those codes. There's not a number on them. It's just that you don't know what episode they're going to be on that front. And then I do have Buy Me a Coffee. So if you would like to financially support me, I have Buy Me a Coffee. Feel free to buy me a coffee. It's like $5, or you could buy me as many coffees as you want. But again, no pressure. But again, that's the whole thing. It just exists. And, again, it's just a way how to support indie, because supporting indie is very important. But again, that's everything I got. I don't want to keep going before I get me and you in trouble, which I've done. This is not a 5-time show. But on that note, I'm going to give you a chance to have the last word.
All right. So, one of the things is my favorite things to introduce myself. The other thing is to, leave you with something in here, life. That's it. Life. And if you don't know, now you know. And if you knew before, you'll never forget prolific.
Well,
That's
I
right,
think that's
baby.
a perfect place to wrap up, everybody. And that is a